Hello, hello, hello. What's going on? Welcome back to the VR link. My name is GT from Gamertag VR. Hello. And yeah, man, let me introduce everyone quickly. I'm sure if you've been here before, you're going to know who they are. We got Salsa from Salsa Ketchup VR straight above me.
Hey.
Nice. We got Nat from 7 Degrees of Gaming. Doing the thing. And then we got Lincoln from Lincoln670. How you doing, buddy? You all right?
Doing pretty good, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you all for being here, man, and putting up with my extremely late presence today. Apologies to anyone who doesn't expect this show to go live at 7 p.m., which is the normal time we all agreed on. But all these guys have been very courteous to me today because of work, and we started an hour later. Crazy. So,
Big week.
big week.
Yeah.
What's everyone been playing?
Who we started with?
Just one game.
So let's just go through what you've been playing, and then we'll focus on certain subjects. No Man's Sky. We'll just, you know.
Yeah. Well, I did jump back to Ninja Legends a little to remind myself, but haven't put anything on stream with that. I know you played that as well, Chris.
I did, yeah, and yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. Personally, I thought it was great. I know some people don't. I know they're expecting a bit more out of that game, or out of the game in a way, because it's quite straightforward.
For the price, I think it's a stretch at that price.
It is, but I also found when you unlock the weapons, it changes the gameplay. So I think you got.
Yeah, I can get that, but I was still sort of like the block mechanics didn't quite always come off right, and sometimes it just was like, no, what's going on here?
All right, cool. So what else have you been playing this week? What else?
We've got Tokyo Chronos. I've been going through that again, that's imminent for PSVR release.
Nice.
Which is a visual novel. So if you like the sort of like a Japanese visual novel style thing, and you want to be in the middle of a Japanese visual novel, it's there, but it's got a lot of quite heavy reading as well with it. Quite long.
Yeah.
I haven't got yet. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And, obviously, anybody who does go through it, watch out for my name in the credits.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is pretty cool. So now, what have you been playing this week, dude?
Just one game, and we're going to be talking about it later.
Okay.
That's it.
Lincoln, what have you been playing this week?
Yeah, that game was a given that I played that a couple of times. I also played Firewall, which you were in that session that we were both streaming.
Yeah.
And I got a big laugh out of watching you get blown up. It looked like you did a double backflip on one of those explosives. I also streamed Gorn this morning.
Okay.
But I haven't been able to play as much as I wanted to this week, but most of it was to you know what.
Right. Okay. You all right, Salsa?
Yeah, one of my screens just went off. I was like, what happened?
All right. So, let's just quickly check the chat. We've got Robin Schuler. We've got Mr. GT. How you doing? TGK. Thank you all for joining. Who else have we got? DJ Osama. Nice. Thank you for joining us today. Facebook, we've got Andre. JD. Yeah, man. All right. So, let's just open this up then. Let's go with No Man's Sky. And let's start with Nat.
Why me?
And also, I take it the platform you played it on would have been PSVR, same as me.
Yep.
Okay, so let's and Lincoln, what platform you played it on, dude?
I've tried it on both.
Excellent. Sals?
I tried it on both.
Excellent. That is fantastic. So let's go with Nat. Let's talk about
Picking on me because I'm the miserable curmudgeon that always moans about games.
Let's talk about
Yes, I'm going to moan about No Man's Sky. So here we go. The issues I have with No Man's Sky on PlayStation VR are blurry graphics, and that is because there is no way in God's green earth this thing has been enhanced for PS4 Pro. Hopefully, that's going to be coming. The user interface, when you're using the Move controllers, is awful. It is terrible. It has not been designed for the moves. No way, no chance, no how. It's just all over the show. Also, you have a nice learning curve. Now, I ain't got a problem with the learning curve, actually. That's pretty cool. But it's very... I've had a few people contact me saying, I've started playing No Man's Sky and I'm finding it boring. And I can see that because usually for the first few hours in that game, it hasn't changed from the original game, really.
Right.
There's no difference there. So I can see where they're coming from. I kind of knew that because, admittedly, I played it 3 years ago, but it's pretty much the same opening up until you get a few of the new building mechanics.
I got told the beginning has been simplified from the original beginning. Someone told me.
No, it's pretty much the same thing.
Right.
You got your thing, and you have to mine thing. You got your ship. Your ship's empty. It's got no fuel. You got no launch things, so you have to go out and find things. So I didn't find any difference there. So like I say, I didn't have a problem with that. I kind of knew what I was getting into with that. But with all that being said, it is a technical marvel.
Yeah.
It really is. It is a wonderful world to explore. Once you actually get past, I would say, I was stuck on my first planet for about 3.5 hours. Initially playing it because I couldn't find any fuel. I couldn't find any way. I couldn't find any thruster fuel to get me off the planet. I knew I'd followed all the plans that it said to do it, and it's just like I just need some uranium somewhere. When I got to the space station, and I'd already seen a second planet that I'm going, I want to go to that one. So I went to the space station to continue the story. Then I got into my second planet. And it's the second planet for me where it suddenly kicked off because there is just so much stuff on that second planet that I want to mine or want to find.
Yeah.
That, so now after getting over that initial hump, I'm now sort of like flowing. Mm-hmm. It's like, right, it's not like I have to do something, which is the initial bit, you have to do it.
Yeah.
I'm now at the point where it's, I want to do something. I want to mine. Like I came across a uranium deposit, and I was just like, you know that bit in Blazing Saddles with Mel Brooks,
right?
Where he's just sitting on the office going, work, 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 work. Yeah. That was just literally me, just work, work. Let's mine this, mine this. So I was there just having a blast.
Yeah.
So it is a technical achievement. My bugbears, my nitpicks with the game are things that can be fixed. There's nothing inherently broken in the game. Which is the concern that I had. Now, there is two things. I haven't played it with the DualShock 4, so that might make the user interface a little bit simpler.
Nor have I.
But as I say, for the moves, I just found it was a horrible user interface. It was all over the show. I don't think they really optimized it for moves. But again, like I say, that's something that can be quite easily fixed. And I haven't played multiplayer, and I'm sure if I got into multiplayer again, like with most games, when you add in multiplayer, the fun factor goes up. So, but like I say, I'm having a blast with it. As I say, I've played, I don't know, must be about 6, maybe 7 hours. That's just down to my time constraints that I've got.
Right.
Look, it's everything we expected it to be. And like I say, my issues are just, like I say, they're little bugbears, they're little minor points. And they're things that can quite easily be fixed. And to give the credit to Hello Games, they've already put out, 2 or 3 patches?
Yeah,
already.
They are flying out in
8.
patches.
8.
So when I played it last, there was 6, and so yeah, there's been another 2 since.
That's right.
That's crazy. And just to touch on what Nat was saying, because I've done a post on Reddit as well. When it first came out, it was crashing. So I've only played it twice. And I think I've covered about 10 hours, maybe 8 to 10 hours. It's only crashed once. Graphically, it is poor. It is poor. Blurry-wise, it is poor. But it's very colourful. It's imaginative. It's No Man's Sky still. But you are actually that person in that game. And you kind of... I think the gameplay takes over. And you kind of forget how it looks. And it runs really well. I disagree with that on the controls. I actually think the move controllers are well implemented, personally, and I was expecting it to be a lot worse. There's been some great games that have come out, and they've suffered because of poor move implementation. It kind of reminded me of Skyrim, and that's why I enjoyed the move controllers on this. But I haven't used the DualShock either. Some people I know are quite happy just to use the DualShock all the time.
Can I just clarify one thing? actually using the move controllers in game are fine. My issue is actually the user interface. You know, when you get the menus up.
Oh, dude, yes,
I'm
I
not
agree.
I'm not talking about the actual
Right,
game.
okay.
Walking around the game. Walking around the game is actually fine. Although I did actually have a point where I had a sentinel shooting at me, and I was trying to move around, and a few times I went up close to my
your face, yeah.
visor, and suddenly the visor image came up. I'm like, I'm text not to
Yeah, I've done
it.
that a few times.
So there's a few bits like that.
Yeah.
But no, what? Sorry, I should have clarified that. The actual move controls in terms of getting around the game, pulling, the the multi-tool out. By the way, I've managed to get a really cool multi-tool now.
Nice.
Screwed up there. I sold something for over 2 million credits, and then I logged something and it gave me 2 million credits. So I actually sold something really cool so I could get the 2 million credits to get a better multi-tool.
That's awesome.
And then literally I went over to a table 30 seconds later. So like, oh, well, I need to scan that. Let's scan that. And it gave me 2 million credits for the scan because I'd done so many things. I was just like, no, you son of a... Yeah, I was literally cursing it because I was just like, hey, if I'd have done that first, I'd have had me 2 million credits that I needed. So there was that. But no, what I'm talking about is actually when you bring up the menus.
Yeah.
And you need to, add things and stuff like that. It's all over the show. It definitely hasn't been optimized. It's way too close to you. There needs to be a little bit more distance to it. And it's very finicky as well with the move controllers, I found.
The one thing
so it's the user interface that I'm having the issue with. The actual move controller implementation in-game is fine. And the only thing that I've had an issue with in terms of movement is with the ship holding onto the joystick.
Oh, man, everyone struggles with that.
Yeah, that's a bit of an issue for me. But no, I sorry, I just wanted to clarify that. I'm not saying the move controller thing scheme is broken. Yeah. It's only actually the user interface. When you bring up the menus, it's terrible.
Yeah, because I find when you're actually trying to select something, you get a giant window in the way of everything. So if you pick something in the top right, you then can't really see anything below that, which I found a little bit weird personally as well. So yeah, cool. Yeah, I absolutely love it, and I think I said this earlier. I don't think I'm going to get the time to put into it what it deserves. So I actually will be jumping on other people's streams to see how they get on. We have got a GT Planet, we have got a GT Ville, and DJ on the Discord wants to try and get everyone on PSN into that place and building bases in the community on one planet. So every time you go on that game, we are bumping into each other. That's what he wants to do. The link to the Discord is below the video. Please feel free to jump in. And yeah, man. So let's go with Salsa for his impressions of No Man's Sky.
Okay, so I've had two starts. So give you the background. I have played it in its original form, but that was way back when it first released, and haven't touched it for many years, like since 2016.
When did it come out? Just out of interest.
It was 2016.
Right. Okay. Yeah, cool.
So I played on PSVR first. I do agree on the UI design. I think it's a problem for VR in particular that UI design has not actually got to the point where UI designers really know or have switched their brain into thinking in terms of these are physical interfaces. But at the same time, I think a part of it may actually be they went, right, we've done all this stuff and we've got some headroom issues coming up here. So we're going to take what is the 2D interfaces, but we're going to allow them to be in a convenient place. They are very convenient when you sort of like get out your gun, you do the ones by your hand or by the multi-tool, and you can, touch them or you can point at them and click them. But as a future of VR, I don't see that type of flat screen holograph interface is actually good for working in VR. There's better ways to make an interface. Everything else in the game, like you're saying, I found really good. I'm on the other side of the fence when it comes to move controllers and the flight controls, where I don't have a problem with them at all. But that is only once you turn them up to 100%, and you make sure they're not inverted,
Yeah.
which is, oh my
It's
good
the
God.
opposite to what you think is going to happen.
Well, it's physically, because it's representing a physical control. You get in a plane, you push a stick forwards, you expect it to follow the stick for
Yeah.
you to go that way.
Yeah.
And you know, it's also, you don't roll when you go left, you actually go left, which I think is a sensible decision. Because if you sort of like went and did that with a stick, you should roll over. But
Yeah. I think you
other
press
than that,
buttons on the moves, don't you, to roll?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. But I think that is a sensible decision given the nature of the moves and everything else like that.
Yeah.
The thing is the throttle. I don't know if other people have been having problems with the throttle in the ships. Like, they got like 4 different speeds, but they seem to go between stopped and full.
I didn't know they had 4. I thought they just had 2. Yeah. Yeah.
4 different stops in there. That's what I mean.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
you could actually get different speeds out of it and do all sorts of stuff with it, but it's just too sensitive.
Right.
But so I have to agree on a number of things that Nat said. In the, you know, and we all know the resolution on the Pro, it's too blurry in many ways. But what it's doing is a technical achievement, that it's there and working and running smoothly.
Yeah.
I mean, blurry, but the frame rate is constant. It's solid. It's working there. The game mechanics, they're all there. There's an entire bloody universe sitting there just going, explore me.
Yeah.
You know?
I was speaking when I was on F Reality. I spoke to them and said, "What do you think it would cost to make a PC to run this game?" And they said it'd be about £1,000. So
Yeah.
to buy a PlayStation 4, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's amazing that it is. I mean, obviously, like I say, I played it on the PSVR while I was waiting for it to drop on the PC. I then played it on the PC, which at first, of course, frame rate issues were a big issue, but it's Hello Games. They have literally, I don't know what type of shift rotation they've got their coders on at the moment, but we know that Sean himself on the release day was up till 4:30 the next morning, still putting together a patch. So it just absolutely blew me away from there. My machine I've got running on Ultra, I thought, right, I'm fine with 45 frames per second. I've got it on Ultra. I want to see what this thing can do visually to the max point, and then my next bit is going to be getting it to run at 90 and just seeing what I can get out of it running at 90 FPS.
And your PC melted.
No, well, my PC is, I can run it at full. I've got running at 150 times resolution, and I've got it running at about 45 to 70 odd frames per second. Everything maxed out at ultra.
Mate, that's awesome.
Stunning.
That's awesome.
It's stunning looking game. It's gorgeous. I literally, when I went from PSVR to PC, the first time I actually sit in the ship, I broke down and cried. I literally broke down and cried. I tried to hide it in my stream first of all, because I did an 8-hour solid stream.
Yeah.
Well, an 8-hour solid stream on this. There's when Lincoln came in, because Lincoln joined me in later, and I still went for, was it about an hour while you was on there then, Lincoln, when you was talking to you?
I went and like skimmed over the replay of that stream, and I think I was in there with you for about an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. So my brain has melted by the time that Lincoln's come in, but before that, I literally did go from PSVR, the hours on that, into the PC. And that first time I sit in the cockpit, there's a bit in the thing where I just go, this is amazing. and I'm trying to hide the bit that I've actually
Ah.
started welling up because I'm like,
Ah.
oh my good God, I've got an entire universe to explore and it's gorgeous.
We need to get little squidgy sousers as like little key rings, and you can squeeze them, and they go, ah. You know what I
Hey,
mean?
I've cried in VR games before. There's nothing to be
I've been touched.
sad about that.
Yeah, man.
Apollo 11 VR mission, I was in tears.
The
And
one that,
Frank experience,
yeah, and Frank's
I was in
that got
tears
me a
on that
little
one.
bit. That got me a
And
little
Star
bit.
Wars X-Wing mission. That
I was
had me in
gonna
tears.
say that was the one thing I remember before, because I don't know if they demoed the X-wing on PSVR experience before PSVR was out. I don't know. I can't remember. I think it was
No,
quite.
they didn't.
Other than
I just remember reading about it or something, and some they said they watched a guy get in, put the headset on, and he just
Yeah.
broke down. He was like, because it had been the thing he'd been waiting for all his life. Because that X-wing is, even now, like by today's standards, it is so detailed. Getting in that X-wing in VR is absolutely fantastic.
I've been saying that actually in No Man's Sky. Actually, that was the thing when I was on my way to the first space station.
Yeah.
And hit the what's it? The boost one where you go really really fast.
you get
And
the,
I was just looking out the window at the engines, going, you know what? This
Yeah.
is so super cool, and the
Yeah.
stars going past and everything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, sort of like it's really nice when you're actually flying in the ship, and it's not autopilot, but it kind of is.
You can
And
chill.
you're just sitting back and you're pressing the button, and you're just like, this is so cool. I don't know if you've done the teleportation yet.
Yes.
But the thing that came to my mind, because I was freaking out for that, I thought it was hilarious. I was just like, this is like Quantum Leap, if you remember the old TV show Quantum
I
Leap.
do.
yeah.
I was just like, this is,
Ziggy.
it's like a Doctor Who cross with Quantum Leap type thing. I always thought that was awesome.
So let's go with Lincoln. Let's talk about No Man's Sky. And if you could touch on both formats as well, that'd be great.
Absolutely. And so in the interest of not jumping from left to right, I want to talk about the PC version first. I do have an Alienware, I believe, in Aurora R7 or R8. So the first 4 times I tried to play the game, it crashed on me. The 5th time, it seemed to straighten itself out and started running better. I also turned the presets down because you do have presets starting with a standard, enhanced, high, and ultra. So at ultra, it did run, but it was kind of skittish. So I took the presets down to enhanced, so I could still get a good picture, but it would still run decent. So it did run decent at enhanced, and it was definitely clear, no question about that. And I'm on the Oculus Rift S.
Yeah.
And that's the one where I joined Salsa Ketchup. The game was, when I played with Salsa Ketchup, that was the first day that the VR support came out. So there was still some bugs going on. And I was trying to gather some elements so I can repair my ship to get off the planet. But I think the distress beacon, it wasn't working right. So I was basically stuck on that planet. Since some updates came out, I think it still runs a little bit buggy on PC, but I can't get off the planet.
Right.
But God, I don't know if I want to go back and do that because I've advanced so far on the PlayStation version. I at least got the ship fixed, and I don't know if I want to go back and put another 2 or 3 hours in on the PC trying to repair the ship so I can get off that planet.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do want to see those clear visuals.
Yeah. So you've obviously put a lot more time into the PlayStation VR.
Yeah, I didn't plan it that way. How I ended up putting in so much time on the PlayStation VR. First of all, on the PlayStation VR, it is blurry. There's been some funny things going on with these updates. I think when I first popped it in, it was blurry. About an hour after I popped it in, there was a couple of updates. One of them was only a few megs. One of them was almost a gig. And
Wow.
Once I rebooted the PlayStation version of it, it looked like it was a little bit cleaner. It looked like it had less blur. And that's when I spent a good amount of time on it. I had spent about nearly 2 hours on it before the game crashed on me.
Mm-hmm.
Just recently, there was another update. There was almost a gig. After that update downloaded and I went back to the game, it looks like it was back to its original blurry state. So I don't know what's going on.
Right.
I think they're still tweaking it. I'm sure they'll get it sooner or later. So It's something that I'm not, irritated about or anything like that. I know they'll get it. I know they're working on it. I know we'll have those first day bugs and that kind of stuff. But I would say that my experience on the PlayStation ended up being more enjoyable because I was joined by about 3, 4 of my friends, and playing in VR was my first time playing No Man's Sky in any capacity. I
Yeah.
haven't played the flat screen version of it or anything, so I had no controls. I had no problem with the controls on either PC or PlayStation because being that I've never played the game before, I've got nothing to compare it
Yeah.
to say whether I like or dislike it. So
Mhm.
I didn't have a problem with the controls. I thought the PlayStation controllers actually turned out a lot better than I thought they would with the Move controllers.
Yeah.
Mm.
Same.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
in terms of movement, it wasn't hard to understand at all. So um, the way things are sitting right now, I can play it on either one, PC or PlayStation. Um,
I mean, it sounds crazy, but I mean, that sounds crazy. I'm hoping you're going to agree with me, but I'm still getting asked: is it worth picking up?
Oh,
Absolutely.
What the game?
Yeah.
This is, and I said this backstage before we went live, because I was like rambling and kind of got caught up in the moment talking about this game. You can easily get carried away talking about
He
this
did.
game.
I had to be like, because he was just wanting to keep talking about the game.
So people who are deep into VR, because I said this backstage, people who are deep into VR, I think they have that one open world game that they would love to see come to VR. A Grand Theft Auto, a Red Dead Redemption, maybe an Assassin's Creed type. I know everybody has that one open world game that they would love to see come to VR. And this is it. It happened. This went
Yeah.
beyond open world. This is open universe, an infinite universe. So many places you can go. And I know I'll never finish this game because there's so much content, but there's so many other VR experiences out there. I think the way VR is right now with so many different experiences, it's like being at a VR buffet. What do I feel like eating today?
Yeah.
And so, but
Yeah.
that's great. And I love how well that No Man's Sky and VR has been received. I think the user base of this game is going to be active for a long time to come. So I feel like I could break away from this game for a couple of months and then come back and it still be highly active. And I do believe that I'll definitely run into a lot of VR users, and my friends that joined me on that were very helpful. They gave me the necessary materials I needed to get off the planet. So,
Man, I said this the other day. My chat literally helped me so much. Because there's so much to learn in this game. There is, and that's the only thing. I get frustrated with myself for not remembering stuff. But I've got so much to remember. It's like,
I mean, there's definitely a learning curve in the game,
yeah.
but it's fine. I mean, there's two things I'd like to bring up. Well, actually, I can only remember one now. But TGK, who's in our chat at the moment, sent me a message about it, and this is the first game that he said that he's been able to play for an extended period of time in VR that hasn't actually made him sick.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So it does, I think, show what a stellar job that No Man's Sky have done. I said last week on last week's show that I thought the biggest issue was most probably going to be the multiplayer. I thought there was going to be a few little bugs and missteps. But as I said initially, the core of it is fine. There's these few little bugbears that they just need to sort out. And we've seen what Halo Games have been doing so much with this game anyway. It's quite remarkable. I've also remembered my second point. The other thing that we've got to remember is even though we don't have cross-platform play with No Man's Sky, and that could possibly be the next big third update that Sean Murray's been talking about, we do have cross-play with non-VR users.
Yeah.
And I think there might be a situation where we're playing in VR with maybe friends or people on our list that want to play No Man's Sky, and maybe they'll sort of see that we're having so much fun in VR that it'd be like, well, I want to play that in VR now.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it in single player, and it's positive across the board, whether it's VR or flat screen. This update has been positively received, but I think there's actually the possibility of gaining a lot more VR users that are having so much fun in in No Man's Sky, and it'd be like, I can play this in VR where it's literally the world is surrounding me.
Yeah.
I kind of want that, and I think there's going to be a lot of people that, like I say, pick up a PlayStation or a PlayStation VR headset that currently have a PlayStation 4.
I mean,
Definitely,
I think
as you
that
said, the price is
like
crazy.
when you think about what happened with Skyrim. Now, bear in mind, we've come a long way from Skyrim. As in, I don't think I can't remember if I was a content creator or whatever you want to call it back then. I can't remember, but a lot of people now do it. VR is growing. It's just growing, growing, growing. The hashtags are growing, everything like that. To know that a game like No Man's Sky is in VR is absolutely massive. And just while I've got the mic for a second, we're talking about a PlayStation Pro patch. Ian Higton, I think his name is, from Eurogamer. He played this game pre-release on PlayStation VR, and he said, damn, this game was so much sharper when he played it earlier. So that makes me wonder, like, obviously there's probably been optimizations and stuff, but he played it with a smooth frame rate and it was sharp. So that gives me hope that maybe there will be something for pro users. I know it doesn't help OG users, but I mean, that's the reason I upgraded to a pro myself, is because I wanted that extra graphical bump that it does bring you in a lot of games. So, yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to add that I think this is still huge how well this has been received, and yes, VR is growing, but I believe that I wouldn't doubt that everyone in here on the panel and on the chat wants to see VR more or less go to mainstream, and I think this No Man's Sky update is a big step in that direction. And I was under the impression that we would have crossplay between the major headsets day one, but if that's something that's still going to happen down the line, that will still be another huge leap when that happens.
We've got some massive games. Like, the fact, to me, in my mind, when I think about games that are big, Borderlands 2 going VR was a bloody big deal. Massive.
I'm hoping we'll get something more soon about that as an expansion and maybe PC side.
I think that was meant to happen, though. Wasn't it 6 months, it was rumoured? 6 months exclusivity, or whatever you want to call it.
Five.
Oh, right. And that's gone, is it?
Yeah, it's finished.
Yeah.
So.
Gone.
I think, to be honest, with Borderlands 2, and I agree, it's that was a huge deal. I think the PC version will launch when we get the DLC. I think the PC version will launch complete. I think it's the only reason they haven't launched it. That they're just like, you know what? When we launch the DLC for the PS VR version, we'll launch it for PC, and it'll be the complete version on PC.
So,
I'm one other thing with that as well. I'm sort of like, if they do the PC launch of the VR when they do the DLC, that if they then go, oh, and by the way, multiplayer cross-platform.
Cross-platform is such an important thing, unless a game is massive.
That'd be the bomb dropped, because then if you can play cross-platform with in VR with PC players and the flat screen players as well, that would just be like done. That game rocks.
Yeah.
To be honest, I just want co-op in the PS4 version. I'd take that for time being. It's the one thing out of Borderlands 2 VR that I think they screwed up on, because Borderlands is a co-op enhanced game.
Yeah.
If you've ever played Borderlands just normally, Borderlands is really fun when you play it single player. It goes to a completely different level when you play Borderlands, whether it's Borderlands 1, Borderlands 2, or the upcoming Borderlands 3. It goes to a completely different level when you're playing with friends, because it's just so much fun.
I think I played the whole of Borderlands 1 with a friend. Yeah. Sorry, Lincoln.
Yeah. I also wanted to add that I'm hoping that developers are looking at this, the No Man's Sky, how well it's been received, because I do know that the PlayStation and the PlayStation 4 Pro is very limited as far as VR goes. But games like Skyrim, Doom have shown that they can take last-gen games and redo them in VR.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of games out there, last-gen games out there, that were very popular, that I think still has a good user base, especially like like maybe the last gen Call of Duty games, Activision can extend the life of those games by opening them up to VR, and that would open them up to to another crowd.
Yeah, and we're
And
not limited by camera, like as in camera style of games, because as we all know, we've seen it time and time again now. Third-person games work in VR, so we can.
yeah,
I think
The
they really work.
relationship, I think the base
and
relationship between what you see on a flat screen and how you actually feel about a game when it's in VR is fundamentally different. That's what brings a much deeper connection to the game about, and that's why these older generation games, where they have a solid foundation, any game that has a solid foundation on a flat screen is going to have that much more impact when it goes into VR.
exactly, and
All you
that's where
got
I
to
was trying to go with that.
Yeah,
all you got to do is look at obviously the last generation, and you could just nitpick certain FPSs like BioShock would be
oh,
a completely different. That would
that's
be the
gonna.
one
I'm
I'd want.
so sure that's gonna happen. I'm so sure that's gonna happen one
You've
day.
got the Resistance series, you've got the Killzone series.
Mm.
Um, Unfortunately, with Lincoln, I don't see Activision jumping on board because that would actually take a game company rather than a money company to actually be interested. Unfortunately, Activision, all they care about is money.
Yeah,
And for them, they just don't think there's enough money. A Call of Duty World War II game, I don't care what anyone says. You put me in a VR game, Call of Duty like, and put me on a Normandy beach. Because the VR is such a visceral experience. Honestly, I think people would actually be, sweating their ass off, taking the headset off after the Normandy landing,
Yeah.
because you could just make it so intense in your face. In some ways, I think they'd maybe have to dial it back because it could be too intense.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think you're absolutely right that you put it in a very professional way. But yes, Activision is all about the money. They're not the only ones. EA is another one that I think they could resurrect some of the games if they would bring them to VR. But unfortunately, publishers like EA and Activision are not going to get on board with making a full-blown AAA title or redoing a full-blown AAA title to VR until they see that it is like absolutely booming, until they see that it is a complete gold mine.
Mm.
But in the meantime, big shout out to Sony, because I've said this before, VR would not be where it's at if it were not for Sony. The Quest is going to take it to another level, but I mean, now VR is mainstream enough that when you mention it, people will rather than say, no, I'm not interested in VR. They'll say, well, when this game comes out in VR, maybe I'll try it, or maybe I'll try it when the PS5 comes out. So in that that right there is progress to even hear people say that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well said. Sorry, Salsi. You was going to say something, I believe.
I've forgotten what I was saying.
Your mouth was like that. I thought he was going to talk.
Yeah, sorry. I'm just seeing. I did have something to say, but I know what it was. Front Defense Heroes.
All right.
This week on Oculus. I was wondering if anybody picked that up because, since Nat mentioned it, it's a World War II FPS multi 5 versus 5 like online and single player game. I didn't check it out myself. I think it's kind of a little bit early release on it or something.
Mm.
But it is on the Oculus Store now and was released this week. But I haven't checked. It's got some good reviews and some not great.
Yeah. So I was just going to. Oh, sorry. Sorry. Did you finish?
No, no,
Oh, sorry, man.
yeah,
I was just going to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who's joining us today. I really appreciate it. We've got a lot of people. We've got a ham. I love saying these now. I love ham. I just like ham anyway. Ham.
like that. Anyway, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I love a bit of ham. Christopher
Hey,
Hart.
Salsa, can I step in for a second? What did you say that game was called, Salsa?
Front Defense Heroes.
Okay, you said this is a 5 versus 5 multiplayer?
Yeah, it says it puts it as 5 versus 5 online, single, and multiplayer.
Okay, because I'm taking a look at it right now in the Oculus store. It's about $10, so it sounds like a game that it wouldn't hurt for me to take a look at it. So I think I'll pick it up after at the conclusion of this podcast.
Superb. So yeah, if Lincoln does that, obviously you can add it to his channel and all of these guys' channels at any time. Check out what they're doing. They're all providing VR content all the time. Hello, that guy's Will. I saw your T-shirt earlier, dude. You got willpower written on it. I'm really pleased about that. Hello, Pedster. How's it going? TGK2, thank you for joining. Who else have we got? I missed Fez69, Doghouse 3, thank you for joining. Sierra the Chosen One, how you doing? Who else have we got that I might have missed? Because I'd like to say hello to as many people.
Definitely got to say hello to Christopher Hart. He is a big supporter of my channel. He's definitely a VR enthusiast.
Yeah.
And he's a person that's in just about every one of my podcasts. Appreciate your support, Christopher Hart. I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So we are now going to move on, if I can find the right trailer, to Space Pirate Arena.
Ooh, yeah.
Which is coming to the Quest, and for some reason the window has gone absolutely massive. I couldn't tell you why that is, but it's covering Lincoln's forehead. I don't know why.
It gives me a second to go grab another Gatorade.
Why is it not shrinking?
So excuse me for a second.
I can't shrink it. Hold on. Man, I got it. This is so... If anyone hasn't been here before, we sort of just try and handle things on the fly and just get on with it. So yeah, this game, Eye Illusions, Christopher Hart... Christopher Hart, he's the one in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Haney from Eye Illusions is one of the guys. He actually sent me this footage, and we was chatting, man. This looks absolutely fantastic. I know you guys must have checked out this trailer when it dropped this week. Tell me your thoughts on it, guys. What do you think?
If I can take off first, my son and I were watching this, and the first thing that came out of his mouth was, "Too bad this apartment is too small."
Dad, get me another apartment. This ain't good enough.
So that looks like so much fun to have that kind of space. And so I did tell him that, hey, we can go to a park. We could probably go to a basketball court, or something like that, But wow, that does look so. It looks like so much fun.
Yeah.
And with that being said, getting an Oculus Quest is still on my to-do list. It may not happen in the very near future, but yes, I think by the time I get an Oculus Quest, there's going to be so many great experiences out there, and this looks like one of them.
Absolutely. What about you, Sal? So what did you think?
I'm a big fan of big open arena sort of experiences. I think it's just gonna rock. It's gonna be amazing. I'd like to see how they're going to implement maps, because it had a set minimum space, I think, but I don't know if it's going to be a case of the bigger the space you mark out, the bigger the maps that it creates. If it's procedural generation or if it's just set generated maps, or what the form of that takes. So if that's a procedurally generated maps, that's going to be kind of awesome as well. I know I've experienced like this. I know there's not... How many of you guys experienced larger warehouse size VR experiences?
No.
I've only skated in them. That's it.
You've only skated in them.
No VR experiences for me in big warehouses.
No?
Nope.
It's a shame. Basically, if you get the chance, I've got to say to everybody, do it, because it's a different thing. When you've got the headset on and you're not using controls to move yourself, you're moving your actual body.
Yeah.
And you're going through, and there are other people that are tracked inside there as well. It plays so well. It's great. You sort of like go down, you like aim down sights, and you're like done. And then you actually can sort of like partially hear them, or you've got comms going on with your teammates.
Yeah.
And things like that in VR while you're in a physical space and you're moving around the thing. It's just crazy. And to think that you're going to have this from the Quest,
I know.
that, you know, £400, $400 per headset.
It's
And
nuts. It is nuts.
you just go rent a tennis court for an hour or two or something like that, an indoor tennis court, an indoor basketball court, whatever like that, sports hall, anything like that, and just go, right, there's our play space, go at it.
I'm sure Mike said last night it was 4-player as well. It's going to be 4-player.
Yeah, 4-player. It's
Oh
4-player.
man, that is going to be insane, dude.
They start off the same way that I've started in those type of experiences. Because what you tend to have with these is the way they calibrate it is that you have set start positions. So at the start of the game, it'll go, right, we need to get you in position, and you all get into the right position. It'll go, right, everybody's in position, bam, starts.
Mm-hmm.
I know it came up yesterday where people say, well, the walls are virtual. What stops you from cheating?
Yeah.
Well, I know in the case of Ghost of the Machine, that what they did is if you step through a wall or you put your weapon through a wall, it stops the weapon fire from happening, and you have to walk back to a start point.
Yeah.
So until you get back to that start point, your weapons are disabled.
I like that.
Yeah. That's
so it keeps it honest that way.
yeah, and the other thing was like when I was talking the other day, they said about it just going black. Like if you go through something, and you won't be able to see what you're going. But then I still think you need a punishment because there's nothing really to stop you just going through to get to the person to kill them. So, and I noticed the guns charge in the trailer. So it's not like bang 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 automatic shots. There is a timing to your shot, and the bullets ricochet. So
maybe they could, like Salsa said, maybe you go back to a specific point and they take away your ammo, so you have to go to a specific point to get ammo.
Yeah.
So that would be a good punishment.
The other guys who are actually on there don't have to go back to their starting bases. It's only the person that has actually clipped through a wall who has to go back. So what happens with the Ghost in the Shell one is that everybody else, they know the layout of the map. They now know where you've started from.
Yeah.
They can gun for you.
Yeah. It's like you're threatening everyone then. So, what about you, Nat? What about you, man? What do you think?
Well, this is the evolution that Oculus promised us at Oculus Connect 5, where they showed off Dead and Buried. This is obviously the next evolution. We talked last week about location-based areas increasing. This is a low outlay for location-based things. Added to the fact they don't really need to do anything in the warehouse because the environment is built in virtual reality. So all you need is space. So I think you're going to actually find a lot more location-based device areas pick up. This is a good start, and I think the developers deserve massive credit because they have said this is not a house game. This is an arena game. You are going to need a very large space for it to work, and you can't play it in your house or anything like that unless you're a multi-millionaire and you've got a house that's got a huge like basketball court or something like that. But I think this is actually a really good thing. If Oculus can fund maybe one or two more things, I think you'll suddenly see a lot of these smaller location-based areas spring up with Oculus Quest running the game. I'd like to say I'd be interested to see how it runs because obviously normally with an Oculus Quest you work out your area. So I'm sure there's something in the hardware or the software that it's already pre-built in. As you guys have said, there has to be a penalty for trying to cheat, trying to clip through walls. And to be honest, I would actually go with the most severe thing, that if you do clip through a wall, if you try and put your gun through a wall, your gun stops working until you're dead. So there wouldn't actually be any benefit to try it. As soon as you go through, you either get a black screen with a little message saying "Do not move," or you just get a thing where your gun doesn't shoot at all.
Yeah. Just to
So
answer someone in the chat basically asking about a Spire 1 release. I can ask him in person because I'm hopefully going to be playing it for the first time. I also done an interview with the developers, and it just says August. It still just says August for the release date.
I don't think it's August.
So,
Do you know whenever the game comes out? Do you know if it's cross-buy?
oh, I can't remember.
Because that's definitely a game that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I can't remember.
And I don't want to have to. If I can avoid playing it twice, of course.
It might. I mean, a lot of them seem to be, don't they? A lot of them seem to be really. There's not many games I know that don't do it. Put it that way. The majority definitely do it. So we'll have to wait and see. So the next subject we wanted to touch on was. Let me go through. Was finding out. Hopefully this won't spread across the screen. Now that one. Why is that smaller? I've got no idea what is going on this week. This has never happened before. This is so typical.
Well, they shrunk for you, Chris. It's never happened before.
Anyway, I wanted to talk about touring carts being rejected, and that did as well. Well, everyone did. Talk about touring carts being rejected on Oculus Quest.
You got to play this week, didn't you?
I did, yeah, and I keep meaning to jump back in. And I'm running out of time. I might just stick it in tomorrow with a G29 steering wheel and have a go. Because last time I played it, the drifting wasn't working with the touch controllers. I just thought I was a really crap player at this game. And then eventually, the developers were messaging me during the live stream and said, sorry, it needs patching. So, it's part of that early release thing. I think it's a great game. And we was talking about why does a game get to the Quest store? What boxes is it ticking? And for me, when I look at this, it's ticking so many boxes, and they've said no.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, we've talked about To the Top quite a lot. And I've said it on a few of the previous shows. I got a game called Jigsaw 360, and the developer there got declined for putting his game on Oculus on the Oculus Store, and he went through Itch.io, the website Itch.io. They deal with indie games,
right?
And I got to be honest, I think that possibly is a way, because obviously a lot of these developers have put a lot of time and they put a lot of money into it. Yeah. They need to get some money back. And I think Itch.io actually, because that offers them a thing. Now, the way it works with Itch.io is you need side quest, and I think a lot of us have got side quest.
Yeah.
I think, let's put it this way, I think enough people have side quest that if a developer put a really good game on Itch.io and then use side quest as its download option, they could still make a lot of money. Yeah. Or at least get their money back. And I think a developer like To the Top, I think it is a case if the developers have exhausted all options, but they still want to make some money. You buy it on Itch.io, you get the APK file when you buy it, and then you literally put it on SideQuest, and then you download it via SideQuest. The one thing I will say, at least Oculus Quest has that, because if you get rejected for PlayStation VR, you're done. You got no way in. At least with Quest, and Oculus themselves haven't gone in to try and shut down SideQuest or anything like that. I think they see there's an inherent value in SideQuest, even though they're not going to officially support it. But at least with Oculus Quest, there is the option of, guess what? We've been turned down by the Oculus Store. We think this is a really good game. And you can buy it for $5 or $10 through Itch.io. So I like the thought that the developers aren't screwed completely. It's not the best solution, but it is a solution where they can recoup, hopefully, their costs back. And I think there's enough people that would be out there that would be like, yeah, actually, like Jigsaw 360 is it's a jigsaw game, for God's sakes, that you can either do spherical or flat. And I paid like $3 for it, or sorry, £2.92 it cost me. And I was like, yeah, that's fine, because it was just a nice little game just to ass around with
Yeah.
for a little while. And so yeah, if the top guys just cannot sort anything out with thing, and you were saying that the game is pretty much done.
Yeah, I played it. Yeah, I played it. I've still got it. Yeah, it is the
Um,
full game as far as I know, and I keep meaning I was going to stream it, but I don't really see the point because it's just gonna unless they then go, you can buy it here, like you're
yeah,
saying,
like I
or
say, if they can go to Itch.io
yeah,
and
what's the point of
say,
me
look,
playing
buy
it?
it for $10.
Yeah,
I don't know what Itch.io's markup is to the developers who put it on there, but as I say, it's an option to go there. I mean, we've already know that Pavlov, for example, has gone through. It's in out. I mean, it's even in pre-alpha really. Pavlov,
yeah,
and he's used that. He was actually, and the thing is, he was actually going to go with SideQuest. He actually turned around and said, "Look, when it was all up in the air, then Pavlov was like, oh, it's been rejected by the Oculus people." And he's like, well, sod you, I'm going to go through SideQuest. I'm going to offer my game through SideQuest.
yeah.
So, like I say, I think SideQuest plus the combination of Itch.io does offer an ability for developers. And at least I'm glad to see that if they get screwed over by Oculus, and I think some of the developers have been, like the top guys, definitely been screwed
Yeah.
over by Oculus.
I just
Because
want.
everything up front was, yeah, your game's coming, and then right towards the end, no, your game's not coming. We consider it a demo.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on Doghouse's comments, but Oculus do try and be quite vocal about pitching early for the Quest. So if you're rejected, don't waste too much time on it. That is correct with this instance, because when I spoke to the developers, they are now very much pushing. I think the most units are expected to sell on PSVR. So PSVR, I would say, is top of the agenda. But it's literally on every other platform, isn't it? I think it's a mobile phone game as well.
It's on mobile phone. This is something that Voidcat, the game citizen, brought up, is that they already have VR carts. And VR carts is not this game from what I've seen. I mean, I haven't played, like, I wasn't blessed with getting to try this, and this is one I do want to actually try.
I did buy this game.
No, not VR carts, touring carts. So they are occupying a similar space, but VR carts has always looked like a bad version of a karting game to me.
It looks like the first version of a VR karting game. It's the first.
I think that
it may be the first one, but it looks like it was done badly. That's why That's why every single time I've seen it, and I've seen different people playing it, some have liked it, but on the majority, I've gone, I'm not bothering with it.
Yeah.
Whereas this looks like they've done everything right.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of like, if they can allow VR carts on Oculus Quest,
How
can they not allow this one? And I know you had a bit of discussion yesterday. They said, oh, well, it's very much like Mario Karts. Well, what kart game that has this kind of mechanics?
Oh, that was rowdy. Yeah, yeah. I did think, when he said that, I can see where he's going, but I can also see the other side and think, but that's like every other racing game being like a racing game sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
being Bandicoot Racing, Sonic Team Race.
Who knows? I think the point was, no one knows what Oculus is thinking. No one's 100% sure on where are we going with this. How does it work? Because another thing with this game is it's got multiple camera angles. You can play what feels like a proper VR racer, so you're behind the wheel. You've got a third-person view, and then you've got a view where you're almost sitting in an arcade machine, looking at the game on a screen. So then you've got no motion sickness at all. I was just at a loss when I
well thought through. Like you're saying, it seems like a really good, well thought through thing.
Yeah.
And I can't understand the reasoning on it.
No,
really.
And to bring up the next game, then we quickly wanted to touch on is once again is talking about the Quest again. Just quickly, is Ninja Legends. So me and Salsa have both checked this out. I know this is also on Steam as well. So someone else, I don't know if you've
played the Steam version.
Oh, I've played the Quest version, so that's cool. Lincoln, have you checked this out at all?
No, I was curious. I was curious about it, but I'm not gonna lie. $20. That's kind of borderline. But the biggest reason why I haven't checked this game out is because I wouldn't get much time with it because the Quest is my son's,
Yeah.
and I don't think my son would be interested in this. I'm curious about it, but my son is so tied up in Pavlov that he almost doesn't care about anything else. That was really all he cared about on the Quest.
Okay. Cool. So what about you then, Sal? So you check this out on Steam.
Yeah, I have on Steam. I think we played some of my footage of me playing it in mixed reality last week,
Right.
actually. But basically, it's a in place slash 'em up instead of a shooting game. It's a slash 'em up.
Yeah.
And it's okay. When you get the other weapons, yeah, that's cool. Couple of other locations, that's cool. But something with the blocking mechanics and sometimes the slashing mechanics didn't quite gel for me all the time. It's not always there. And they tried to sell it on this is much more like a really good combat. They tried to sell it along the line of a combat simulator with rhythmic elements to it.
Mm-hmm.
That even on the tethered headset, you was having to do this quick 180 when there's two of them attacking you at the same time because they kind of come in a wave and they can go off separate, and you can have one behind you and one at the front of you attacking you at the same time and different things like that. And that didn't come quite right for me.
Yeah, so I got a key for this a long time ago, and I played it, and I thought it was okay on the Oculus Rift, but I just didn't get time to go back to it. And it is almost like an arcadey game with more weapons and stuff. And at the time, I didn't know a price for it. This was about 4 months ago, I think, and so or whenever I first got the Rift. So I played it on the Quest. I actually prefer the Quest version to the PC version personally because you've got that freedom again the Quest gives you. It's got a lovely resolution. The graphics are very nice. I remember being more impressed by the graphics because obviously this isn't pushing anything. It is quite a good fit for the Quest.
Yeah, it's a small team that did this. I think they're basically a few students that sort of like grouped together to try and get something going.
Yeah.
I think they've tried, and I think they've put the price up too high to sell units, basically.
So I played it with the swords. Zimtok was right. The introduction is way too long-winded, and it sort of takes. There's nothing wrong in a game sometimes especially a game like this, which is an arcade wave. I don't know, not shooter, fighter, whatever. You can die and learn. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily to go, oh, that's what I should have done. It's not too bad. This sort of takes a very long-winded approach. But I kept playing it, and then I started unlocking other weapons. I love the bow and arrow, but I love the staff. There's and I've seen... Yeah, I unlocked the Wolverine claws as well on the PC. On the PC version. But I loved the staff. It felt like I was in a kung fu film. I was saying I actually did some recording for some gameplay, and I watched about it, and I was like, you can't put that on there, you look daft. I was going, wah! And I was cracking him in the face. I was like, pia, pia! Hitting him and then you're hitting him in the bollocks. And when you hit him around the head, they sort of daze a little bit. And I even done like a spinny attack, but unfortunately, I'm like over 100 plus kilos. When I jump, my room moves. So I was like, I can't really put that in there either. But anyway, hopefully if it does get a price drop, I'd say for £10, I think this is definitely worth it. I think it's good fun.
Yeah, now you got me curious.
Yeah, I think it's good fun, personally. But don't expect anything new. Do you know what I'm saying? Just expect it to be done quite... I don't know, quite tightly. I liked it. I did. I kind of enjoyed it. But yeah, if you're going to pay £20, I wouldn't. I don't think. I think that is a bit much.
I think it's 15, wasn't it?
Oh, is it?
Out...
So it's. I still think £10.
It's $14.99.
Yeah, I still think that's a bit high.
I think it's too high.
Yeah.
If it's a bit lower, then I'd go. Yeah, okay, I can see that. But I think they've priced it too high.
Yeah, I think 9.99 would have been the absolute no-brainer sweet spot in a way.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit. Maybe tiny bit below that. Maybe I think the £8, and then it's more of a goer.
Unlock the staff and then come back to me. Unlock the staff and
Oh
start.
no, I've got all the way to the claws.
Oh, did you try the staff?
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I was all right with the staff. The claws, I kind of got into the claws. I wanted to get to the claws because, Wolverine claws. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I want to get the Wolverine claws.
We got Anne. Hello, thank you for joining us today. We got Madman the Game Cat, Pedster. I don't know if I said hello, man. I'm just checking in there. Is there anyone else I've missed in the chat? You guys want to give a shout out to quickly before we move on to the next game?
No, I'm good.
Sweet as a blueberry muffin. Right, so let's quickly touch on Firewall, the recent release, and I'm going to hand this over to Lincoln because I know he's been playing it.
I think the newsroom map is a great map. The only issue I had with it was a little bit of the aliasing, because you had a little bit of glittery edges in certain parts of the map. But I think it's an amazing app, and to me, it almost like revived the game for me.
Yeah.
Not that Firewall was dead. It's just that, again, there's just so many other experiences out there that is like you play something and God knows when you might come back to it.
Yeah.
But I think I took a big enough break from Firewall that I can come back to it and enjoy it. So I'm actually I want to play it today. But there's a couple of things I need to do after I take care of after a podcast is done. But
Yeah.
I definitely want to get some of this in today. It is this is definitely what Firewall needed as far as DLC goes. I definitely like that app. I definitely like that map.
Yeah, man. I'm loving where the game is at the moment. I think it's actually at its best now. And as you said, I wouldn't say I play it every single week, but on the channel I have played it. We used to do like Firewall Fridays, for example. I've been up to date with this game for quite a while, and playing it the other day, all of a sudden I was like, "Damn, this is bloody good! Like this is how I remembered when it first ever come out." Do you know what I'm saying? It feels good. There's other maps coming. So yeah, I love it, man. I absolutely love this game at the moment. I need to get that bloody knife. I just saw it in the trailer. I haven't got the throwing knife yet.
So is this a good time to jump back in if you haven't played it again for ages?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that motion sensor, that was probably the biggest thing that drew me in right there was that motion sensor.
Yeah.
Because I play a defensive style. I'm the type of person that rather than go after them, I sit back and wait.
Yeah.
And so any device that helps me, be aware of when my enemy is coming is a welcome addition. So I think that that motion sensor is right up my alley. So
I'm loving that, man. That and the C4 is really, really smashing it for me. So yeah, if you was it on sale a little while ago? I think it was, but I've seen you can get it physically, can't you? Firewall.
It got a permanent reduction. It went down to $15.99 permanently.
Excellent stuff. Yeah. So if you're thinking of picking up something, you want to make some better use out of your aim controller, because I know some people have got the aim controller and don't necessarily use it that often. This is a fantastic game to use that with. So we're now going to move on to Red Matter on the Oculus Quest, and I'm going to hand this over to Nat. I think, have you played this on the Quest, Nat?
No, well, I've been ill for the past few weeks, so I'm kind of so far behind. This is a game I want. To be honest, if it had come out a week before, I'd have brought it. It's literally that it came out the same week as No Man's Sky, and it came out after No Man's Sky launched. It was out the day after. I want it because I like the look of it, and it is also again meant to be a technical marvel on the Oculus Quest. That visually it's very similar to the PSVR, but the lighting is meant to be a lot better than the PlayStation VR. Whatever the hell the developer's done, and I think we discussed this when we were looking at the videos either last week or the week before. It is highly impressive. And I like puzzle games and exploration games, and that's kind of from what I get is it because I haven't played the PlayStation VR version. So yeah, it's a game I'm definitely going to buy. I like the look of it, and like I say, it's really cool to see developers even this early in the Oculus Quest life cycle really managing to push it out. I mean, there's another game that we'll be talking about in a while as well, which again I think the developers have really pushed the Oculus Quest to its current limits. I think in 6 months' time, a year's time, we're going to be even more shocked. We'll be like, oh, do you remember Red Matter? That was really good, but it kind of looks naff compared to this new game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the look of it. It looks really good. Price, it's a fairly pricey game in terms of Oculus Quest. It's $18.99. I don't really have a problem with that. It's like, no, actually, I mean, it's meant to be fairly substantial in terms of its game. It's not like an hour or an hour and a half game. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to buying it. Let's put it that way. And as I say, I would have already brought it if it wasn't a case that, like I say, No Man's Sky dropped, but No Man's Sky dropped the day before.
Nice. What about you, Salsa?
I want it because I want to see the graphics and how they've done on there. Because I do think that optimization is a big thing going forwards, and that they've managed the sort of graphical fidelity they've got going on there is something in itself that's impressive. And it's one of those games that I think walking wise I could go into a larger space and forget about some of the rest of the other controls and go on with that. But at the end of the day, it's a busy period for me with work, and there's No Man's Sky to be done.
Yeah. What about you, Lincoln?
It's a game that I'm definitely curious about, but again, there's two factors. One would be the price, because Nat was right about this being rather pricey on the Oculus Quest, and finding the time to play it because of how many games I have on PSVR and on PC. But it's definitely a game that I'll be keeping my eye on, and the next time it comes up on sale, if it were to go on sale to say like $15, I think I would grab it.
Cool. So I've played this on PSVR and the Quest. I think the PSVR version is slightly better looking on the Pro. Bear in mind that I don't forget that I'm playing it on a mobile processor, the Snapdragon 835. From that point of view, it is incredibly impressive. I don't think there was smooth turning in the game when I played it, which was a little bit like quite surprised about that. I'm assuming it's going to come along, but yeah, when you're playing this, unfortunately, in my stream as well, the sound was crackling, and that became an issue on Reddit as well. A lot of users were experiencing that when they were recording or casting from the Quest. They were getting issues with that, and then a couple of days later, I cast Time Stall, I think it is, and it was absolutely fine. So I can't figure out why it's happening. The developers are telling me it's not their game. It's something to do with Oculus, and it needs to be fixed, and they are aware of it. So if anyone is a content creator or whatever you want to call it, a video game maker, I don't know, those issues are known, and they are going to get done. If you haven't played this game at all, I would definitely say pick it up. It's got that isolated feeling, and it's a sci-fi feel to it. If you like that sort of thing, you do feel like you are just thrown into a story. You feel alone. You feel like you've got to sort everything out. There's puzzle elements to this game, and there's some really good twists in it. I really enjoy it. I think it's a great game, and I hope all of you get to check it out at some point, and we just come back to it, man, and see how we get on. So what else was there on the subject chain today? So we got LA Noire, I believe, was something we wanted to touch on.
Well, there was a leak. It's been withdrawn now. but Peggy here in in Europe, who rate all European games, leaked that LA Noire, the VR case files, which has already been out on PC, is on its way to PS4. Which, well, it's a VR game, so that obviously means it's coming to PSVR. We're going to obviously talk about Gamescom in a little while. I think it's going to be announced at Gamescom.
Yeah.
Look, Peggy don't make that sort of mistake. They would not put a game up for rating if it hasn't been submitted. I think most probably what's happened is whoever's put the game in for submission, which I assume is 2K Games, who are slowly getting into VR. It's really interesting because obviously what Lincoln was saying earlier on, Activision don't give a crap. EA don't give a crap about VR. 2K are slowly getting into VR. They gave us Borderlands. Bethesda kind of screwed up with VR, to be perfectly honest. They started really well and they've kind of gone off the boil. I think out of the big studios, third-party studios I'm talking about now, Ubisoft is the one that is the massive supporter of VR. Full stop. But yeah, as I say, I think 2K Games, who obviously own Rockstar, I think it's going to be announced at Gamescom. So I think it's coming. Am I excited about it? Yes and no. The thing is with LA Noire, I loved that game normally until the ending. The ending is horrible. It literally just destroys everything that you've just played. Like 95% of the game, absolutely awesome. I had the greatest time. Last 5%, I was cursing the developer because it was just like, I hate you for making me play this game and loving it. And then you just kicked me square in the nuts with it. However, this is only 7 cases. So I'm hoping that they chose the 7 cases really well. And I've got to be honest, I think it's going to be really cool. Just, interrogating people and stuff in virtual reality.
Have you explored this on PC?
I haven't, because it fell in the time when I didn't have a PC headset, and its initial launch was a bit of a negative because it was a performance hog.
Right.
And a lot of people had issues playing it. And it does come down to something that's kind of in line with one of our VR viewers' questions that was in the Discord, which, of course, people, if you don't know, on GT's Discord, there is the VR Link viewers' questions chat. So do jump into Gamertag's Discord. I'm sure there's a link somewhere on the video here. And ask a question. And the question that kind of ties in with this is sort of where was it gone? It's down here near the end. It's kind of like to do with how the adoption rate of games and the fall off of games is so quick. So, say compared to other new console game device launches and releases, which are pretty great, but not everyone seems to appreciate the sheer number in the store. So, as an aside to that, if you have time, do we think this culture of new, of always going for the new, is a bad culture for gaming? Because it's like a lot is sometimes getting left behind and forgotten rather quickly.
Right.
Sure how you guys feel about it, because I know with VR as a particular, there's a load of people coming on board who don't know these early games, who don't get some of the exposure. It just sits there in a store and doesn't get kind of the same buzz around it.
Right.
Don't feel it does. It's the same with Noir, as like I said, I came onto the PC side later. So by that point, any buzz around that game had already well and truly gone. It's the same as anybody coming back to gaming from not being in gaming. So when I left gaming first time round, I came out at PS2. I stopped playing games at PS2. I skipped PS3, and then I came back on PS4. And there's a whole generation of games that keep on coming back as remasters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's a very odd culture where it's sort of like we're always looking for the next one to buy, and it's the same with the multiplayers in particular that we've seen on VR, where we come along and we go, well, what's next?
Yeah, yeah. I just want to give a big shout out to Danish. Is in the chat. He is celebrating his 1 year anniversary of being on YouTube. So yeah, supporting VR like the rest of us.
Danish.
Congratulations, dude.
Yeah, if you like your Arctic impressions and your PSVR gaming, he's definitely an amusing fellow.
That is the way to go. Yeah, if you love a bit of Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can't really get better than Danish.
Yeah, he's had me in tears sometimes for watching some of his stuff.
And the best bit is he's not Danish. Like, he gets a number of people, he told me, actually ask him if he is Danish, if it's a Danish gaming channel.
Yeah,
And
of course.
I think it's fantastic that it's not. I think it's great.
No, it's because he's Dane.
Yeah. That's it. I love that. So, just a quick mention of hopefully I've realised why the bloody videos keep changing, because I've downloaded some in 1080p and in 720p like a fool. We had a quick look at Blood and Truth on the store. I cannot remember what the price was. Someone told me
it's $31.99.
So it's $31.99 in the US.
And it's $19.99 in the UK.
Okay, so this game for £20 in the UK, I absolutely recommend you pick this up on PlayStation VR. It is a fantastic game. If anyone is on the fence for some reason, get it for 20 quid and let me know your thoughts. I think all of us have played it here. It's a brilliant game. It is absolutely another smash hit for PSVR for sure. And it was recently updated as well. What was it? Was some extra levels? Was it a hardcore mode? A new game plus?
Yeah, there's some extra bits and pieces on the end, like the replay stuff and all that.
I think New Game Plus was the main thing that they added in. But they have said that there's going to be extra content, actual levels and stuff.
Excellent. Right. Next up is, I think it's called The Witching Tower. I'm not 100% sure. The developers have already messaged me about this and saying they've asked. I think we're going to feature it on the channel at some point. Is it The Witching Tower? I'm sure it is Witching Tower 2. Is it? I think it's called.
I thought it was Witching Hour, but I could be wrong.
Let's have a look.
But I know it's been available on PC.
Yeah, it's The Witching Tower.
It's coming to PlayStation VR.
Yeah,
by the end of the year, they've said. So.
Yeah, so this is one that I've noticed. Let me just get up my notes from the developer, and then I can get some information on it, because it was only the other day. Because I think as he messaged me, I then saw the trailer up on YouTube.
Oh yeah, no.
There it is, The Witching Tower. So let's have a look. The Witching Tower is a VR action adventure set in an original dark fantasy universe. You take on the role of Anna, a prisoner in the tower who discovers she has the talent for controlling the dead. Fight and puzzle your way through through a foreboding fortress tower, unraveling each level's mysteries, unique gameplay mechanics. So, yeah, as you said, Nat, it's already on PC. I personally haven't played it. If anyone has played it in the chat, please let us know. Let us know what you think about that. And yeah, so that was that's a new PSVR title that's going to be coming, which is always good. And then, last of all, for our trailers of games, and I'm hoping this one isn't going to smash everyone's faces in. It's not 720p. It's Phantom Covert Ops on the Quest, and I know Nat is particularly excited about this one because and this particular trailer you're watching now, because he told me this is all Quest footage, I believe.
Yeah. Literally at the beginning of the trailer, the guy says this is the Oculus Quest. Like I say, I'm a huge stealth fan, big time. I think it has a very unique premise that you're always in this kayak at all times, and it pretty much is giving you your way how you want to play it. As I said in the gameplay, you can go in silent, you can go in lethal, and you can even go in loud. Although obviously I'm not going to go in loud. I'm going to try and not kill anybody if I possibly can.
Oh,
and there's going to be
really?
scores
That's
at
how
the
you're.
I'm going to try and play it that way.
See, I'm going to be completely the opposite.
But yeah, so I really like the look of this game. Ever since I first saw the first trailer, which I think was at E3, it's like, yeah, this is something that really interests me. It's something that I find interesting. To be honest, the only way I lose my excitement for this game, well, apart from the Aspire 1, I think is actually going to be a better stealth game, but that's just because it's got more scope. The only way that I get more excited is if they announce Splinter Cell VR at Oculus Connect 6.
That'd be pretty.
I will
amazing.
shit a gold brick.
And I will keep that gold brick, and I will sell it. I will sell that crap shaped gold brick. So yeah.
And then hand you a copy of the game, but
Salsa, would you be checking this out on the Quest or on PC? What are you thinking?
I thought it was Quest only.
Someone in the comment section said that it is cross-buy.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, if it's cross-buy, then that's cool. So I would probably I tend to play more on the PC side if it's cross-buy, because that extra fidelity is great.
He loves the power.
You paid for the power. You want the power. But yeah, it does look great. I like the idea. The mechanics seem original. It seems like a really good idea, and I like to try things that are original, especially with something like VR. I think it's an interesting take on something, and if it's done really well and works well, then I'd be glad to. I definitely do want to give it a go.
What about you, Lincoln? You looking out for this one?
Absolutely. I've basically called this game Splinter Cell from a kayak, and I agree with Salsa. I'm definitely looking forward to this game, and I plan to play it on both PC and the Quest. I might be a little bit selfish saying this, but yes, I hope there is an upgrade in the resolution and what the fidelity, as Salsa said. I'm hoping that is the case because I think Dead and Buried is one of those games where it does look the same on both the Quest and the Rift. Mm. So I hope this is enhanced for the Rift. But either way, I think it'll still be a good game. I'm gonna, just to be safe, I'm gonna buy it from the Quest.
Right. Okay. Why is that? What's the reason for that?
Just in case it turns out that this game isn't cross-buy, I'd still rather have it on the Quest.
Okay. And for what reason?
For the convenience, because when my son comes over on the weekends, he takes over the computer and plays Pavlov, and it's such a convenience to take the Quest in the bedroom and just sit on the bed.
Yeah, man.
And play games, play Poker Stars, whatever. And this is definitely a game that I would love to play it in that kind of a situation, because it looks like the kind of game that doesn't require you to move. So it's definitely a great game that I could take into the bedroom, plop on the bed, and play it and get a great experience.
Yeah, and it visually looks fantastic. I can see exactly why people are excited about this. If anyone doesn't know, I done a interview with the developers of this game and Aspire 1. They're both on the channel. If you're looking for more information, definitely check them out. It's great to hear from the guys, and it's really good to hear their belief in the Quest. And like, when I look at this game, and when I saw the trailer, first of all, the original one, I think it's one about 45 seconds long or something. It's quite similar to some of this. I didn't know it was Quest footage, honestly. It was only when I watched it again and it said, like Nat saying, Quest footage, I was like, wow, that is awesome. They've done so well with this one. And I don't know if we've seen any footage from Aspire 1 though, have we? On the Quest, I don't think. I'm not sure if there's been any footage of that yet.
I don't know if it's been marked as to where the footage comes from, though. I'm assuming it was PC that the footage came from.
I'm pretty sure the B-roll they sent me was all PC. Pretty sure. Because what formats is Aspire 1 on, just while we're touching on it? I know
I think it's all the major headsets. I just think it's even on PSVR.
I'm pretty sure it is on PSVR, isn't it?
But I'm still buying it for the Quest.
Right, no worries. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's going to be a strange one for me. I don't know where I'm going to go with that one, to be honest with you. I mean, because when I did interview them, they were talking about speed runs. You know,
Yeah.
it looked. Yeah, I might have to join you on that one. I think.
It's the wireless nature. That's the reason I'm going with the Quest.
Yeah,
So that's the only reason.
yeah. But if you notice in this trailer as well, they one thing when I interviewed them, they added stuff like they were letting people. One of the best things developers do is let outsiders play their games, because what happens then is they're outside the box of functionality and stuff. They're thinking like, how would this game react in the real world? And they were saying like they've come across people who are pro kayakers, and they're saying like, I'm tilting, or they're trying to tilt, and it's not reacting. So they go, okay, so yeah, apparently in this game, if you tilt a little bit, the kayak moves. You know, and funny enough, like Nat was saying, pushing off the rocks. I remember watching that and thinking, what a great mechanic! Like, you're hiding in those reeds and then quietly pushing yourself off back into the middle of it. I thought there's little things like that excite me in virtual reality. Maybe stuff you know, because you're doing it, you're making that happen. So yeah, I can't wait for that. Boy,
this looks cool. So
it looks really cool. Boy Brown, how's it going? Thank you for joining. Void Cat, Captain Chrissy, how's it going, dude? Thank you for joining, everyone. Really appreciate that. Hopefully I haven't missed anyone. If I have, just say hello and I'll try and give you a shout out. And last of all, not last of all, we'll quickly jump on to Salsa. You are going to Insomnia.
Yeah, I'm going to Insomnia just on the Saturday.
Right.
Because, like I say, it's a crazy work time for me, so there's a lot to do. So unfortunately, I can't really take time off during the week. I'm hoping, everything crossed, that I will get to jump into Iron Man, because Iron Man is going to be there, and also
Sniper Elite VR.
For Elite VR, but because I'm going to be not there on the early pass, I don't know if I will manage to get what I want, because that's going to be rather popular, I think.
Just run in there, axe kick everyone, get to the front.
Axe kick everyone.
That's it. You're done. Do that roundhouse thing you done at EGX.
Repulsors out, that's the whole thing. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to Iron Man, basically. I want to see what that is like. I normally, some of the bigger names like that, I sometimes shy away of doing the demos if they're quite early on, because Iron Man isn't due out until next year.
Right.
I thought Iron Man was due out this year.
That's what I thought.
I thought it was this year.
I thought it was next year. Maybe I'm thinking of something else then.
You haven't drunk any cider today, Salsa. Maybe that's the reason. Have you...
Oh,
there you
go. But no, it's come on, it's Iron Man, and I like the approach the developers are taking with this. We've spoken about Iron Man before. It's a big one. Sniper Elite, for people that played Sniper Elite, I get it, because that's a really big title. Me, I haven't played Sniper Elite because I was past the generation where I stepped away from gaming and I was too into Destiny and stuff like that.
We was at EGX and Rebellion were there, weren't they? And we were hoping it was going to be there. Do you remember? And it wasn't, unfortunately. They were just doing... I think they just brought out Sniper Elite 2 was remastered on the Quest. On the Quest? Shut up. On Nintendo Switch. And I think another Sniper Elite game was also there. But yeah, unfortunately, the VR... But I'm just thinking about it. That is 3 big games on PSVR. Spire 1. What else was he talking about? Actually, they're all quite big. Touring Carts. Iron Man VR. What else have we spoke about today? There's a lot going on.
You've missed the big one today that we spoke about, obviously.
Not No Man's Sky. I didn't want to bring it up again just in case Lincoln starts going, this is my time. I'm about to tell everyone. Yeah, man.
Oh,
Over to Lincoln.
or you mean over on No Man's Sky?
Oh no,
Uh,
with whatever else I think if we're doing that. Or we also have some viewers' questions as well to sneak in. Some of these are quite good. And there's one. Deej has got a nice, good one actually that incorporates No Man's Sky but doesn't.
So let me quickly get some Gamescom out of the way, and then we are done with all the videos, and I can literally just watch the chat and go from there. I think Nat was saying, I mean, I am going to Gamescom, and to be fair, I've been like booking things left, right, and centre. I actually don't really know what else is there. He probably.
Well, the big thing with the Gamescom
God.
is Sony announced quite a while ago they were there and they were coming with stuff. That's
Awesome.
why I think LA Noire will be unveiled. I think Gollum eventually now will be unveiled. We know Perp Games have got the thing. I think Gollum will be announced and unveiled and will be given a date. I also think will be the Manchester studio that they set up for VR. I think they will announce their brand new game. I can see a lot of announcements that Sony bring because in reality, this is their last hurrah, if you will, before we go into PS5. And I think they want to announce, and I can actually see a lot of VR stuff being announced. So I'm really looking forward to it. I would hope to be able to stream it, but I've got a feeling it's going to be starting too early. I know Microsoft are meant to be starting their show 4 p.m. UK time, so I ain't going to see that because I'm going to be at work. But like I say, I'm interested to see what everyone offers. And even though Oculus don't have a dedicated area, obviously Oculus games will be shown. So again, I think you might find that's where Aspire 1, Phantom Covert Ops might be actually dated.
Yeah.
But the actual reveals for Oculus ain't going to get anything at Gamescom. We're not going to get any surprises because a month later there is Oculus Connect 6, and that's when they're going to reveal their big games.
Okay.
What you said makes a lot of sense. That this will be probably their last big push before we go into the PS5. And Golem is definitely a game that I was curious about because I think when the PSVR first came out, a lot of the stuff that we were seeing looked like demos and tech demos, and I think Golem was one of the games that I saw where I was like, okay, this is what PSVR is going to evolve into in terms of the graphics. Definitely looks like a good-looking game. It's definitely something that I'm curious about. So yeah, I'm looking forward to get more information about the game.
Yeah, I've been really excited for Gollum actually. Ever since.
The thing I was going to say, the thing about Gollum, that was the very first PlayStation VR game unveiled by Sony.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Bloody hell!
So if you consider how many games we've had since,
Jeez.
and we've waited this long for Gollum, it's insane the wait. Unfortunately, I don't think the game can live up to the anticipation because it has now been 2-3 years.
Yeah.
However, it's a bit like for me The Last Guardian. Now I'm a huge fan of Team Ico games. Now Last Guardian, I was told by loads of friends and people, it's not going to live up to your expectations. Well, it actually did. It was pretty much exactly what I was wanted and it's what I thought it was going to be, and there was a few surprises in it.
I loved it.
And that's kind of what I'm hoping that Gollum's going to be. That it's kind of what I expect, but there will be surprises and there will be changes. Is it going to be the greatest game? No, but like I say, I'm always open to be impressed. But yeah, I'm buying it because I just want to know what it is. It's like, guys, you've taken 3 years to get this game out.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I want to play it. I mean, hell, I bought Duke Nukem to find out what that game was going to be like after 12 years. And I'm never going to get that time back ever again, am I?
What the hell?
Oh,
mental. So over to you, Sal. So if you could have a look into the Discord, please, and give us some questions from the viewers.
I've got one lined up, but I just want to say, what happens at Gamescom when Chris is sitting there in a Sony theater, and Sony then launches a bomb and says, "Oh yeah, the PS5 is coming this Christmas," and goes, "And for you, lucky enough to be in the auditorium, there's one under the seat."
Oh, mate. Then you see some spinning axe kicks.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Deej, we've got one from Deej that I like here. So after the release of No Man's Sky, which he said best game of all time, he absolutely loves it.
Oh.
What is our most anticipated game of 2019 on any platform?
Anticipated. Okay.
Most anticipated. So, what for next year is the big game that we are looking forward to?
I
Have you
know
got
one I keep thinking about.
It's-
It'd be Stormland, but I don't know when that's out. I don't know. Did you say it's got to be in 2020 or?
Well, anticipated. Well, he says 2019. Actually, sorry.
Oh right, okay, cool. I don't know when
Right.
Stormland is released, but that is one that I've watched a couple of times, but I now try and avoid it a little bit because I'm very excited for that one. So that's mine.
Yeah, guys.
Lincoln's.
Not,
Uh, I think as far as most anticipated game of 2019, you could make the case that we've already gotten it with No Man's Sky.
Oh, you went there.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but as far as what's left of this year, if those games come out this year, two games that I really, really, really have my eye on is Lone Echo 2 and Asgard's Wrath.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Scar's Wrath actually. Yeah.
Echo 2 is my one that I really am looking forward to a lot. I don't think it's going to come out. I think it's 2020 it's scheduled for. And the same with Stormlands. I think that's for 2020. The other one that we haven't heard anything about that I would love to come out like before Christmas would be a sequel to Moss. So like chapter 2 of Moss. If that just came out of the woodwork from nowhere, that would just make my day. But I don't see it happening.
Just to chuck in there with TGK2, if you took me out of VR as a Witch game, thinking forward, it would be The Last of Us 2. Yes, absolutely. What about you, Nat? Stroke the beard for wiseness. Get some magical dust going.
I think I'd like to say Iron Man, but I'm going to go with Aspire 1 because, as I say, as much as I like the Marvel stuff and Iron Man's really cool, I do love my stealth. However, if, as I anticipate, they unveil Splinter Cell, everything else goes out the window for me. If they unveil Splinter Cell, it's one of the reasons I wanted an Xbox 360 because Splinter Cell pretty much was an Xbox exclusive. A few of them have turned up on PlayStation, but if you want to play every Splinter Cell game, you pretty much have to buy an Xbox. There's just something about the Splinter Cell series that I absolutely adore because I'm never going to get a Metal Gear game. It's as simple as that. So I ain't going to worry about a bloody Metal Gear.
What do you mean? What?
I am never going to get a Metal Gear game in VR.
Oh.
For the simple reason that Kojima's actually left Konami, and God help us if Konami decide to do a Metal Gear VR game because it'll most probably be as good as Metal Gear Survive. But to be honest, I think there's a game going to be announced at Gamescom that is going to come out the blue and is going to blow us away by Sony.
What about
you? It'll come out next year.
What about you guys in the chat? What are you most anticipating? Because I've just seen Farpoint 2 lay up in the chat by Void, and yeah, man, like Farpoint is an absolutely fantastic game. It's absolutely brilliant.
Well, the devs have come out and said that they're looking to go to the next or up the next level of VR with their next game.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's Farpoint 2 or something new. That developer, Impulse Gear, are friggin' phenomenal.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a case I think that everybody's banking on a new IP from them, not a sequel.
Oh, okay. Right. What about you, Lincoln?
I was gonna say that it's probably gonna be a little bit of a stretch. People might be thinking I'm like smoking some kind of drug or something, but maybe they could possibly announce Horizon Zero Dawn in VR. There was a rumor
Oh,
earlier this year that a company was possibly working on doing the current Horizon Zero Dawn in VR,
Wow.
and I would be led to believe that we would probably see that on the PS5. So knowing how Sony operates, that's something that they could possibly announce this year or early next year. And that could possibly be a VR launch title for the PS5. And I think that, and I've said this before, that I think we do kind of have an idea that Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is coming. So I would like to think that maybe we would get the VR version of the current Horizon Zero Dawn first, and then possibly get Horizon Zero Dawn the next year or the second year after that.
I still can't believe they haven't done Crash Bandicoot in VR as like a third person.
yeah.
I really thought.
There and
Well, it's
done it.
Doesn't
Activision, isn't it?
Activision own that now?
I'm not sure.
It's not Sony. It's Activision own it, and Activision
Ooh.
they've done one thing in virtual reality, and that was the Call of Duty Infinite War. Was it Jackal Assault? And
Yep.
Sony paid for that, which is why you got it on PSVR.
So
It's actually rather good.
we got Mick. He has said maybe Sniper Elite. Grimwoody is someone that I'm also very much looking forward to. Sniper Elite, absolutely. Grimwoody said he's waiting for Undead Citadel. That's another one I'm going to be checking out at Gamescom, so I can't wait to play that. I think I'm going to be using I think it's a cross demo with the rudder, so they're sort of pairing up for that. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get some stuff. Boy Brown said EastEnders VR. He wants to fight in the Vic. So get out of my pub.
Make it in dreams.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Dreams. That's good idea.
Yeah.
As soon as they put VR functionality into that, I'm gonna very slowly make my Persona VR game or a Persona VR level.
Nice. South, I believe we had some other questions as well in the Discord.
So, well, for anybody that's new to PSVR, do we think the aim controller is still worth buying? Because it keeps creeping up in price.
Oh.
And so, what is our favourite game to play with the aim?
Well, first of all, let's answer that in two parts then. Do we all agree the aim controller is worth buying?
Essential.
Lincoln?
I think so. There's more games coming to the PlayStation platform, or rumored to be coming to the PlayStation platform, that I think would make use of the aim controller. I think games like Zero Caliber, Alvo, Special Force VR. I think those games are rumored to be coming to the PlayStation VR at some point. And if they do, I would like to think that those games would make use of the aim controller.
South, do you think it's worth a purchase?
If you like your FPS, it's a definite because it gives you the immersion. But favourite game to play with the aim controller? I still think Farpoint has done it for me. I just had a lot of enjoyment from it.
I think time spent would definitely be Firewall, time-wise. I've spent a lot of time with Firewall and the aim controller. But which game I think sells it the most is, again, Farpoint. I think if you give someone the aim controller and Farpoint, they're pretty much blown away every time. And what was the second part of that question? Because what's the value of them then? If they've gone up in price, what is it now? Does anyone know? I don't know. Is that?
I haven't looked.
No.
This is one that Deej brought up. So I know we all know Deej is on point with these things. So yeah, it was just what was your favourite game to play with the aim?
Yeah.
Well, for me it's Farpoint, and let's not forget, without Impulse Gear, we don't get the aim controller.
Yeah.
Because they're the ones that sold it to Sony.
Yeah. So so I'm Farpoint. Chris has said Farpoint. Nat has said Farpoint. Lincoln, what did you say?
Yeah, I would agree. I think Farpoint was the perfect introductory game for the aim controller, but I think the best experience comes from firewall. Aside from a couple of things, I think the aim controller wasn't a bad experience on Bravo team either.
It's a sore subject, Bravo team. I'm scared to bring it up because
Oh,
I actually,
yeah.
I actually had good fun with that in co-op, and I know a lot of people absolutely trashed that game, and I did understand why as well. It was
Awful.
and as Nat said, he finds it awful. But yeah, I'm finding them second hand for around £40, £42 for that aim controller. Um, I think if you've got a PSVR, so you've already invested in maybe a Pro, you've already invested in the VR headset and possibly the moves. I definitely think it's worth checking out the aim controller. I, you know, I can't. I know you can use the DualShock for a lot of these games because they need to give you some sort of other functionality, or otherwise the game's unplayable. But once you use the aim controller in a game
Yeah.
like Farpoint, like Firewall, you can't really go back. In my opinion.
Okay, we got
I would
one more
agree.
question there. So from Midlife Gamist, who is working his way back through the catalogs of PSVR games. Every week he's been planning on trying to finish one game. But what's the hardest challenge that we've faced in VR? And was it difficult because of the game design or controller issues, or just that it's a really hard thing that we found with coordination and timing required? So, there one game that's like that you found as a real challenge, and that's really due to game design or controller issues?
Well, I've got a weird response to that. I have a lot of games that I haven't finished because I hated the game, hated the user interface, things like that, and I knocked them. The game that I finished, but was actually one of the hardest ones for me to finish out of pure terror, was Resident Evil 7.
Of course.
I did finish it. It took me a long time to actually finish Resident Evil 7,
Yeah.
and that was because and it's one of the reasons why I still think Resident Evil 7 is most probably the best PSVR game. Even with No Man's Sky, No Man's Sky might take over it, but I'd still put Resident Evil 7 above it. The pure terror that I felt playing Resident Evil 7 was the bit that suddenly clicked for me, because obviously we got so lucky with that game coming in virtual reality. But the pure terror that game made me feel in a headset, it was like, I'm not sure if I can do this again. However, I can't wait for Resident Evil 8. So
Yeah.
and they've already said that's going to be VR.
Yeah, and just to touch on what Nat just said, Resident Evil was the first game I remember being. I don't know if it was the first horror game I played. I don't think it was, but it was definitely the one you never forget. And I was genuinely scared going around corners, going into rooms, and then I got the shotgun. And I remember thinking, I've never had that experience where I've been terrified of a game. I've got a weapon in the game. Suddenly, I'm like, nah, man, I'm the man now. Do you know what I mean? Come at me, bro, and I'm taking them out. Those oily looking things with the claw.
Yeah.
Oh my god, they're terrifying. I mean, they are. I think they're really scary looking.
I kind of actually found the humans to be, more terrifying.
What, the family?
Yeah, yeah. I found the monster type guys to be less frightening from a standpoint of they weren't so real. They were not in terms of graphic fidelity or anything like that. It's that they were otherworldly enough to not be as real to me.
Yeah.
Whereas the human characters were more real. So that first bit, I don't want to spoil anything, but basically with the wife and the bit in the hallway where basically you lose an appendage.
Yeah.
That for me was just like, oh my good God, that was so shocking. That was truly, truly shocking.
Mrs.
Well,
GT played that
the
as
thing
well.
that got my back up was the sun, because that was purely realistic. There was no really weird, crazy shit. The sun, when he was setting all the traps and everything
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That was
I
like Jigsaw just ramped up.
I'm still at that Jigsaw. I've never finished it. I keep on playing other games.
I think for me, the biggest challenge for me to overcome was when I first started trying to dive into PlayStation VR, trying to overcome the motion sickness. And the motion sickness that I was experiencing, I don't think had anything to do with some of the things that the media was saying at the time. It was just like going through all these different experiences where your mind is telling you're actually doing something, but you're sitting still.
Yeah.
And so if you want me to say a game in particular that like really made me sick was like Rigs.
Okay.
To look out the side of that window and see that I'm like a few 100 feet off the ground, it was the kind of motion sickness that I got the first time I ever got on a plane. When I looked out that window and I seen the plane leave the ground, and then a few minutes later, all the cars looked like ants on the ground. I mean, that was one of the scariest things ever, and that was the kind of motion sickness that I got from Rigs. It was scary, but horror games do rank up there. I don't play horror games because of what Nat said. It's terrifying. And horror games is one of the areas where VR is just too real.
Sorry, Sal, what were you just going to say, man?
I was just going to say, with Lincoln, we're at polar opposites there, because the first time I got on a plane, I was thinking about motion sickness. I was like, wow!
I was scared to death. I almost wanted to open the door and jump out of the plane and get back on the ground while it was still moving.
Right.
Last time I got on a plane was I was just thinking, when is this bloody thing going to crash? Because all I could hear is bangs and knocks and everything. I was like, this thing's going to crash. Great. First time on a plane, I'm going to die on the bloody thing.
I played... Rigs was, I believe, my very first VR experience of April 2016. And they took this bit out. I'm not sure why they took it out, because it's quite an amazing feeling. It did make me feel sick. When you started up the game, you were stood next to some rigs and possibly your other player. Bear in mind, I had no idea what VR was like, so I've looked down and I've seen my body, right? And I'm seated in the real world, but I sort of forgot I was seated in the real world and tried to move my arms and legs, but obviously the game doesn't body track, so nothing happened. I was like, oh yeah, dumb. And then when I started the game, a robot picked you up and lifted you and then put you inside the rig, and then you and the rig went down or something like that. But that feeling...
They blank you out now, and they go up. So it is pull you up, put you down, and then you go up.
It was.
So from down to up, into it, to up.
It was... I remember I felt vertigo. That's how I felt. I honestly felt... And I remember I played that. I played the London Heist, where I just remember like talking to this bald guy, and I'm messing around. I'm doing lines from the film Snatch and stuff, forgetting like there's loads of people queuing up. And I remember opening the door in the van, looking down the road, because I was like, yeah, I'm going to jump. I didn't know this, by the way. I thought, I'm going to jump out this van and roll down the road. Like, I probably would have physically jumped out the chair and rolled on the floor like an idiot. But I just jumped. I opened the door and I looked and I was like, no way. Like, there's no way I'm doing that. And closed the door. Certain things like that left a massive impression on me. Like, I'll never forget them. Challenge games, quickly, just to think, Static was a game I absolutely loved. The challenge of Static. If anyone's played that, I'm not sure if any. That was brilliant. That was real, out the box puzzle solving, and I'll never forget that game. Personally, I absolutely loved that.
Yeah, so I can agree on that one. Definitely.
Yeah. So, was that from Madman? I'm sure I saw one from Madman. Or have we done that one?
No, that was from Midlife Gamers, but we've kind of gone off track because the question was actually what was the hardest, not motion sickness issue.
Yeah.
But it's the hardness because of game design or controller issue.
I answered.
Oh,
Static, I answered.
You did. So we kind of went on that one. Madman, we've got his question is, with the PSVR headset 2 is a while away, do we think they'll stick with a light tracking, or do you think we're going to be looking at inside out tracking technology?
Oh,
Inside Out.
Lincoln.
that's an interesting question, being that the current PSVR headset will be forward compatible with the PS5.
Yeah.
That's an interesting question. Are they still going to use the Move
Wow,
controllers
dude. Yeah, you just
moving
actually.
forward? Are they still going to use, the current camera, or will they have some sort of inside out tracking? That is a very interesting question, and it's just too far out for me to speculate on it.
Yeah, but then in a way, maybe you just sort of answered it, haven't you? I mean, are we saying that if the PSVR now we know is compatible with PS5? They said that, which is absolutely fantastic. All our library of games hopefully are going to make it over there, but that's how that headset works. So, I mean, are they going to literally just say, yeah, plug in your original camera, there you go, you move, there you go, headset, crack on, and then they just bring out, maybe, I'm thinking, 6 months to a year later, the PSVR 2 with a whole new technology. Because at the moment, as we know with Rift S, is a single cable, done. 5 cameras, inside out
Yeah.
tracking.
I think that the headset 2 itself is more likely to be an inside out tracker. I keep on saying that I still maintain that I would love to have seen magnetic field based tracking from a headset, which, if you don't know, doesn't require any line of sight. It's not dependent on cameras. And instead of, because our cameras still have a frame rate issue,
Right.
not as quick as you may think. Whereas the magnetic based stuff, it's millisecond quickness, and it's precise to within the millimeter. It's like crazy stuff, but it's not been done on the mass side to the price point that's possible. That's why I'd love to see something like that, but I think inside out tracking will probably be the way that it's going to happen.
That's what I was thinking, because like, if you look at the Rift S, which I believe the modelling of that was patented from Sony, sorry, for Lenovo. It's already there. It's $399 for that headset. Like, the cost effectiveness is already there. People will be happy to go and buy PSVR 2 for £399 or dollars. They will be. As long as it's cheaper than the console, is my belief.
I've just had a thought, which is a very strange thought to have about Sony, because you just pulled up that when PS5 drops, and they've had something with Levano and that, and the Oculus Rift S, would they actually consider going, oh, by the way, you can plug the Oculus Rift S into the console?
I don't know. Sony will want a Sony badge on everything that goes into a Sony, if possible. Even look at the rudder.
They could have it rebadged. I mean, the rudder is rebadged on the PC side, but
I know what you're saying. I'd love it to happen. Obviously.
No, so the one thing that Sony have been known for since their inception is hardware.
okay.
That's why people trust them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get the badge of Sony on there.
They will go with inside out tracking because it's cost effective. They are not stupid. The price of PlayStation, like the rumor that came out a few weeks ago where they were like, oh, it's going to have this, it's going to have this, and I think we were discussing it. It's like that's like £2,000 worth of gear,
Yeah.
and it's like that's never happening. Never happening. They're going to make it cost effective. There's things that they need to do. So inside out tracking makes perfect sense because it's a simple solution. So that's the most important thing. The question is, do they go wireless or do they go wired with the system? Obviously, they got to upgrade the visuals. That's not a problem. That's quite easy. Or Oculus have already done it with both the Rift S and the Quest, and obviously the Move controllers have to check. The question I have is: we know the games will work on the PS5, but how are they going to work on PlayStation VR 2? Because as you said, they got the camera that they currently have. So is that going to be a case that they're going to have to patch every game, which some of the developers are gone, so they won't be able to patch the game? Or is it a case that, okay, this is going to work if you have PlayStation VR, but it's not going to work if you have PlayStation VR 2, if you're using it with PlayStation VR 2? I've got a feeling there's going to be a range of games that will only work with the original PlayStation VR headset, that will not work with PlayStation 2. And that's not going to be of any fault of Sony's. I think it's just a case that those developers are gone.
Yeah, they're not going to update. Yeah.
They aren't going to be able to update the game.
I mean, you say that now because, I mean, Rush of Blood, which is still a fantastic game, everyone, as far as I know, absolutely loved that game, still hasn't got a pro patch. So, for that example, they move on quite quickly. Lincoln, I'll see you monitoring the chat, dude. What are we looking at?
I'm kind of all over the place. See here, Sony loves their logo on hardware that plugs into the consoles because, like, I was kind of swirling all over the place when you brought up the possibility of an Oculus headset being able to plug into a PlayStation VR. I mean, if something like that would have happened, it wouldn't be. I don't think it would be green lighted through Sony. It would be some kind of workaround that somebody, came up with. But I can definitely see somebody find a way to work around to get PSVR 2 to work on PC the way PSVR works on PC right now.
Yeah. So what's the chat saying? How are we looking on there? What's their opinion so far?
There's the typical wish list, I'm just sort of like I'm very aware that Sony are going to want to hit a price on this, and someone was saying about that they expect Sony will do this at cost, but I don't see Sony doing that at cost. PSVR itself, from the get-go, as hardware, Sony said we are not going to sell this at cost. We are not selling this at a loss. We are selling this at a profit.
Yeah.
PlayStation, the PSVR as it is, has been sold at a profit, not a lot.
But thinking about that, right, that was going into cold water. No one knew the success. As this time, they know PlayStation VR 2 has got a dedicated user base already, communities, everyone's out there. They could actually go, let's give them something better than what the price is. I mean, I'm assuming, like we all talked about before, the Quest isn't necessarily making a money on the hardware.
No.
So...
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Facebook are actually selling that not at a loss. It really wouldn't. Because you got to remember, the thing out of that's going to cost them the most is actually going to be the processor. I think that's why they went with the Snapdragon 835. Because there was so much crap with, they're using a really old processor, Snapdragon 835. It's like, well, it depends how, as Salsa said, it depends how you optimize it.
Yeah, it's overclocked, isn't it?
But that Snapdragon 835, guarantee that allowed them to save $100 at least off the very latest Snapdragon.
Yeah, but then at the same time, they had to put enough effort into dissipating heat with the Quest, so the thermal throttling of it being used in a mobile phone isn't an issue. So
because they're using fans.
So yeah, what opinions we got in the chat then, Lincoln? What are we looking at?
I was looking at JD Max. He said he paid $500 for the PSVR when it first came out, just for the headset.
Really?
Wow.
I can't remember what the price was.
But I will say that when the PlayStation VR first came out, I bought it day one. I did pay $500 for it. But I'd say after about a week, maybe 2 weeks after I bought it, I would go to the Walmart website and see that it was being sold for as much as $1,800 for the Move controller bundle, and I couldn't believe my eyes.
What? Sorry. Can you say that again? Sorry. Say that again.
I've gone to at the current PlayStation VR when it launched. I bought it day one for $500. The Move control bundle. A couple of a week or two later, I've seen it on Walmart for as high as $1,800, and I thought I couldn't believe my eyes. But I'm starting to see now that this is becoming a Walmart thing because they're doing it right now with the Oculus Quest. I've seen the 64 gig Oculus Quest go as high as $550 on the Walmart websites. So
how does that happen? How can they?
To me, I don't know. eBay must have showed them the way because when something launches, and they're really hard to get, people will get them and put them on eBay and pretty much stick it to you.
Oh,
Well, Amazon do the same thing, don't they? They have third-party sellers, and they can sell it for whatever the hell they want. So,
yeah, for reference, here in the UK, it was £350, and that was without the VR world, so that was without a camera, and that was without moves.
You're right. Yeah,
headset only. They did the one with the worlds and the camera for 400. They didn't do one with the moves included, so you'd still have to buy the moves separately.
Yeah.
SVR Worlds for 400 here in the UK. So
yeah.
I was lucky. I brought the camera when the PS4 came out, and I had my Move controllers left over from the PS3.
Yeah,
I never ever traded them in or anything like that. So
yeah, so
I would like to comment on something Simone Thurman said. He said about 5% of PlayStation owners own them, still not a huge amount. You also have to keep in mind that it was $500 when it first came out, more than the console itself. And I thought I didn't feel like that was a smart move when a peripheral costs more than the base.
That's exactly what I was saying about PS5. Yes, that's exactly what I was saying. Yeah.
And to tell the truth, I feel like not so much because of the content. A lot of these PlayStation VRs didn't start moving off the shelves until Sony put them on sale. So I've seen it be as low as $200 for a PlayStation VR, at places like Walmart or Target. And I think that's what started moving them off the shelves, not so much people warming up to it.
Yeah. Say hello to Mike Kelly, Great Tantrum. How you doing? Impatient Fire. Thanks for joining. Hello, Matt. Simon Thurman. He says they have to ditch the light tracking. It's very old tech. Impatient Fire says original camera in PSVR should work. PSVR 1 won't track with the camera anyway. Someone else put about backwards compatibility, I think it was, or emulation. They were saying, could they emulate PSVR original titles on the PS5, awesome. PSVR 2? Yeah, I mean
emulation, no, because I say obviously the system uses light tracking. The only way you'd really get around that is because obviously you're going to have the camera. I would have thought. Is that you have lights on the headset?
Yeah, but it's just positional tracking for positional tracking. You don't necessarily need that in game. The game engine just needs to see I'm in the position.
I don't know.
But
maybe Sony.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
I guess
that was Fustercluck who said that. Sorry.
I do want to go back to the point Simon Thurman raised about the PlayStation 4. It's only about 5% of the marketplace have invested in PlayStation VR. Because I had this argument with a friend at work who is a huge Microsoft fan. He's a fanboy at the end of the day. And it wasn't about VR, but what he brought up, because I was sort of saying, PSVR is really good and sold this. And he brought up actually the same point that Simon Thurman did. And his counter to that was, well, when Microsoft brought out the Kinect for the 360, that had over a 10% market share because Xbox fans really like it. And I just turned around to him and I said, well, that's really fantastic. And yeah, a lot of people purchased it. There's only one problem you had with the Kinect. It didn't bloody well work. Show me the amount of games that actually worked well with the Kinect. You want me to show the amount of games that work really well with PlayStation VR? It's not even in the same ballpark. And Microsoft dropped Kinect support so quickly.
There's a couple other things you have to keep in mind. If I can point that out, is that at the beginning of this generation, the Kinect was not an option. you had to take it with the console.
Yes, that's
And
right.
and
I
they
bought.
dropped it probably like a couple of months uh, into the generation. And you also have to keep in mind that there's also 100 million PlayStations out there right now versus maybe 35 or 40 million Xboxes. And not only that, Sony never forced anyone to take the PlayStation VR. It's always been an option.
No, I was talking about the first Connect going with the Xbox 360 rather than
He's not.
Xbox
Yeah,
One,
not Xbox One. The original Connect.
where
Yeah.
people
I
actually
thought you were
went out
talking
and paid
about the
$100.
Xbox, the
But
Connect device
Lincoln
as
is
a
also
whole.
right as well.
No,
So.
he's right. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, look at the amount of games that Microsoft did for Connect that were Connect compatible with Xbox One. They haven't supported it. It's the one thing you can't deny Sony have done. In fact, some of the best games that we have on PlayStation VR are Sony games.
Yeah.
The best game that worked on bloody Connect was frigging Dance Central.
Connect Adventures.
Yeah.
No, Dance Central worked.
Dance Central is probably the only one that is really played majorly by a lot of people. Certainly on Twitch.
I just had good fun. In
You
Connect
know,
Adventures.
this is how about that the eye toy or whatever that was on the PlayStation
Yeah,
2?
man.
How did that do?
I don't know,
Well-
but I know a lot of people who had it. Personally, I did.
Yeah, well, we've got their Move controllers. That's where it came from. So
Yeah. I mean, the thing
And
is,
there's some other things that keep in mind too, that Sony takes chances,
yeah,
whereas Connect, to me, Microsoft went with Connect because of the success of the Nintendo Wii. The
Yeah.
Nintendo Wii boomed, and they took something that I felt was similar to the Nintendo Wii and took it to another level. Sony, on the other hand, takes chances. They don't sit back and wait for something to appeal to the mass market and then jump on the wagon. They go first.
I could say that. You could say that about Nintendo with their controllers, without going into the systems. Their controllers just are whatever they want them to be per system. They just change every time. You're not sure what's going to happen next. And I bought the Kinect separately on the 360, I think it was, because you had to, didn't you, originally? And yeah, like he's right. There was hardly any games. I don't remember really getting any games. And then when it come with the Xbox One, because I remember pre-playing the Xbox One before launch, I thought it was amazing. I was day one on Xbox One. I really enjoyed it. I thought the launch titles were absolutely fantastic. Titanfall just blew me away. Like that to me
that wasn't a launch title. I know
No,
that because
yeah.
that's the reason I brought an Xbox One.
yeah.
Was because I wanted to play Titanfall.
Yeah, so and to this day that was like a dream come true. Titanfall at the time, I'd never, that was like everything I'd ever wanted. So yeah, and then slowly, and where it is now is the same thing. I knew it was just going nowhere. It was just you have to enjoy Gears, in my opinion. You have to like Gears, as in exclusives, Forza, Gears. I don't know what else there is. Personally. Halo. I mean, yeah. See, if a new Halo come out, I'd probably look to try and borrow one, or I have to go and buy a second-hand one because I.
Well, you have got a new Halo coming out.
Yeah.
PC now, so.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so you just got the Xbox Pass. And...
The Xbox exclusives are now Xbox and PC.
Well, in my opinion, Microsoft have done the biggest disservice to VR. Totally. Because when they announced the Xbox One X, what was it called? Xbox Project Scorpio. When it got announced, there was a big push that, hey, we are going to offer high fidelity VR with this thing. And they even had Bethesda on there saying, hey, we're gonna be bringing VR. And it has already been revealed that Microsoft had a working headset. It was going to go. They had developers working on VR games, and they pulled the plug. And that's because they don't care. As Lincoln pointed out, Sony are willing to take a chance to advance gaming. Microsoft aren't in that level. Yeah, they're advanced bloody online multiplayer, and admittedly, Xbox deserve a lot of credit for that. Although, obviously, they're the ones that brought in paid for online gaming as well, whereas PCs was always free.
And I think because of how slow the PlayStation VR took off, I think that's why Microsoft did not deliver on the high fidelity VR, because they supposedly had a partnership with Oculus. So I was led to believe that all they had to do was flip the switch and make it happen. But I believe that in the first 10 months of its existence, the PlayStation VR had only sold like 750,000 units. Microsoft thinks big. I'm willing to bet you that if the PlayStation VR would have taken off and maybe sold like maybe 2 million headsets within the first couple of months, I think Microsoft would have went ahead and got on board with it. With someone else, with a partnership with somebody like Oculus, the headset is already there for you. All you have to do is just, turn on the switch and let them plug into the Xbox.
But what I don't get is, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, at the moment, gamers are a little bit split. They're different communities. VR communities, like to basically get to my point. I spoke to a VR developer, who said they couldn't release their VR game because of a big game that was coming out that was on flat. And I was like, dude, I don't think that matters too much, because if it is against another big VR game, I get it. But in my mind, they're different places.
Different areas.
Yeah,
they're different arenas. My actual beef with Microsoft, actually, when it comes to VR, and why I don't think they, as I saw it, they did have a relationship with Oculus. But then they went and muddied the entire waters of VR by saying, oh, we've got headsets coming out that are mixed reality, and created this entire whole marketing minefield for everybody in VR, because mixed reality headsets are not mixed reality, they're VR headsets. Mm. And that's one of the issues that kind of goes back on stuff here, and it really does. It just confused people in an area that could be confusing for anybody that hasn't tried VR.
Oh man!
And look at retrospect as well.
Yeah,
having AR and VR
and MR
for people who haven't been in VR, and then you go and say, oh, and there's MR as well. And you go, well, what's MR? And you go, well, it's actually VR. It's just inside-out tracking.
Yeah. Ham has said, my theory is Sony don't need to make a profit selling a next-gen VR headset. They need to get more people sticking on the PS platform, PS5, and buying VR games.
Yeah.
No, they're a company. They need to make a profit. Yeah. The shareholders will demand they make a profit.
Yeah.
Even Nintendo make a profit. And the thing is with Nintendo, Iwata, and I think before he passed away, obviously, showed great character. But when Nintendo didn't make a profit, him and the top tier of Nintendo cut their pay by half.
Yes.
To say sorry that we weren't making money.
I remember that.
Sony and Microsoft have never done that. Look, Sony's biggest selling thing at the moment is the PlayStation brand. That's where they're making their money. They're not going to lose money.
Yeah, that is what the company, because the rest of the company is not in the same sort of position or shape as Sony Entertainment and the PlayStation. I think Nat is completely on. I keep on adding the next 3 on the edge of your name. I don't know why.
Sorry, Ham also said, I expect to be jump in streaming support PSVR 2, and I also agree with that. I really hope that they've seen. I'm here because of PSVR. I literally wondered what the share button did on the controller. I found YouTube and I started streaming. That was exactly, I'm here today. And even if it doesn't matter what size your channel, it's all about the passion, or your following. It doesn't matter about that stuff. Point is, you stream a game because you want to share an experience with anyone, and you could influence someone else to enjoy what you're enjoying, and that's what's important. And they did that with a bloody button, one button on that controller. It's incredible, really. They are so forward thinking. They knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing.
Sony got so much crap for that, but I thought that was a genius move.
Yeah, you're making free. This is the free advertising button, guys. That's what this is. Yeah, we're gonna call
Yeah.
it the share button. We're gonna call it the free advertising button. All right. Let's.
The share button, when the PlayStation 4 first came out and live from PlayStation was one of the apps on there, I think there was more people on there, especially on the weekends, more people on live from PlayStation than there probably was people playing games, because there was a lot of people on there pushing the boundaries, a lot of women, showing some skin and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of activity on live from PlayStation on the weekends. So then they had to keep an eye on it. That's why you would always see that black box in the corner of someone's stream. I guess that was Sony looking in on them, making sure they weren't showing anything they weren't supposed to be showing.
And just to bring it up again, or not again, but something I don't know if we've touched on this ever before, and it's always in the back of my mind a little bit. We need something like PS Home, PlayStation Home again, but a VR version. That would rock. I mean, because you got being, I guess, still new compared to Lincoln and South's to PC VR. I've been doing it about 3-4 months now. The first time you go into Oculus Home is fantastic. And I remember being in there and thinking, this is what PlayStation needs. This is the only thing, really. I mean, apart from the controls, it'd be lovely to have thumbsticks and stuff. But that central hub of having a space that is yours, kind of like what Nat was saying earlier about No Man's Sky, where you can set your ship to a certain speed and you can just sit back if you wanted to for a little while. In Oculus Home, you can put a chair down and sit and look at the stars, or be at a pirate bay, or there's just so many different things going on. If I wish Home came back, I really do.
Are you referring to the PlayStation Home that was on PS3?
Yeah.
They added a lot of content to that, because there was a virtual mall that you could go to and go into clothing stores, purchase clothes. You could sit down, play chess. You could go inside a bowling alley.
Yeah.
You could go inside an arcade, and then they added an amusement park. There was a movie theater in there.
Yeah.
So that's something that had crossed my mind a while back. That what if they brought that back and the whole thing was in VR?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like touching a bit on Rec Room and a bit on VR Chat in a way. The things that were there before any of that, as far as I know you had the Sims and stuff, but this was online. Once again, it was ahead. It felt ahead, and it was free.
It was,
I believe.
And you speak of the Oculus Home. I've been into your home. And I was like, I actually showed it to my son. I was like, look at this, and that big statue of Link in there from Breath of the Wild. I showed that to my son. And so I showed it to him with the intentions that he would go through my homes and decorate them.
Nice.
Because I don't have that kind of patience to sit there. I put a few things in there just so it wouldn't look like a warehouse, but
man.
But I definitely like that.
What I really wanted to do, you can basically import, as you said, 3D artwork and stuff into there, and I wanted from the film Akira, Kaneda's bike. But
like I've got a wall.
You might as well show me, dude. If you can show me that, that'd be great. Can you?
Well,
have you got pants on? Is that what it is?
I've got. No. I've got.
You haven't got pants on.
No, I've got pants on.
Oh, you said no.
No, I've got Grenada's, not
pants.
a 3D. I've got. Oh damn, dude! Side road here. I've got Grenada's bike on my wall as a canvas print.
Wow, dude! I absolutely loved that film. But so there was a free version. It's okay, but there was one for $50, and there was obviously an artist who had put a lot of work into making a 3D model of this, and then obviously you could put it in home and see it in virtual reality, and it's $50. And I'll tell you what, dude, I was thinking, oh my goodness, I really want to waste my money. You know what I'm saying?
I understand.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I absolutely loved all that. So, but yeah, where are we, Mike Kelly? Games numbers for PSVR being a peripheral are outstanding, in my opinion. Nice. Great tantrum. Sony has a history of failed products, which is why I think the PSVR did not take off as it should. People were sceptical and called it a fad and a gimmick. I don't agree with that comment, personally. But What do you guys think about that comment?
I agree with the comment that a lot of people said it.
Right.
I agree. I agree with it to an extent, and I think the media did the PlayStation VR a disservice, talking about how it was going to fail mainly due to motion sickness. But there
Yeah.
was no mention of motion sickness coming from Oculus or HTC Vive. So I felt like PlayStation VR was a target, and that's actually how I discovered PSVR Frank, and he's probably one of the YouTubers. Because of him, I stuck it out. I was actually on the verge of selling my PlayStation VR due to motion sickness, but I toughed it out, and I got my VR legs under me and fell in love with it.
It's almost like what's making the headlines in these reviews, and they go sickness, Drive Club. I remember Drive Club and sickness being mentioned a hell of a lot. Russia Blood got mediocre views. I think IGN gave it like a 6 or something, and I was like, this is bloody incredible. It makes me jump now. I've probably played it 50 times. I don't want to exaggerate, but I don't want to, I want to get it right. That is a fantastic arcade, almost House of the Dead style shooter. And it was a launch title, and it's still fantastic to play now. So,
well, the thing that Sony did completely correctly to combat any of that, let me paraphrase that Sony America did absolutely correctly, that Sony Europe didn't, is Sony America put PSVR headsets plus games in stores. They put it in GameStops, they put it in Best Buys, and people were able to get hands on. It's the one thing they screwed up in Europe.
That's where Lincoln discovered it, I believe.
Yes, exactly, because every Saturday my son was asking me if we could go to Best Buy because they had demos on Saturdays at Best Buy, and they had demos at GameStop on Sunday. And my son was asking me every week, can we go to Best Buy to try out the PlayStation VR? He was not 13 at the time because, they recommend 13. And the attendant who helped us, how old is he? And I kind of gave a funny look, and she was like, oh, he's 13. He's 13, to put the headset on him.
Yeah.
And so my son said, will you get me a PlayStation VR? And that's how I ended up getting one, because if my son didn't ask for a PlayStation VR, I don't know if I can say I would have got one.
Wow.
I don't know if I would have got one for myself. So how I ended up being turned on to it was, long story short, my son took it home, didn't have enough room, brought it back. When he brought it back here, he wasn't playing it. So I'm thinking to myself, $500 is about to go to waste. Let me try it and see if I can get $500 worth out of this thing. And I had to fight through the motion sickness, and I nearly sold it because of the motion sickness I was experiencing. But once I got my leg under me and I discovered PSVR Frank and started seeing trailers of first-person shooter games that was coming down the pipe, like Alvo and those other kind of games, I said, I'm sticking with it.
So you was going to... I don't want to say it again because I don't want to put you on the spot, but you had that mouth of...
Well, I was going to say, here in the UK, we did have some trials. The only thing was, they were not as widespread. They were rather big because inside of St Pancras...
oh, man, yeah, that's right.
A giant-sized PSVR, and by giant-sized, I mean it held like a display for about eight units, I think.
It was amazing. That is... Oh, do you know what? I forgot about that the other week. You're right.
Yeah, but it never had the widespread in stores all over the place that the US had. They did have it occasionally in some limited places. And there was a couple of things post-launch. There was an interesting one, which I should have popped along to, but I didn't. And that was after the launch of PSVR, over in Cambridge, Gorilla Cambridge, the developers themselves, were holding a PSVR Rigs Wednesday night, an actual location night, where you go along, pay a $5, and they was putting on a bit of a league fight in Cambridge.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome. I mean, they had them. I remember going into my local game store, but they were charging £30 for half an hour for you to try PSVR, which I was absolutely disgusted with. Even when they said to me, no, if you pay it and you decide to buy it, we take the £30 off. But you still... Do you know what I'm saying?
You have to pay it. It was wrong. They never did that in America.
Yeah, and yeah, dude, like that really annoyed me, personally. So yeah, great tantrum again. I seriously hope the PSVR will bring VR to the mainstream. That's what we're all doing, and I know a lot of you in here stream VR content. That's what we're all doing. That's what we're all hoping will happen. Christopher Hart, Astrobot getting VR Game of the Year at the Game Awards was a victory for VR and brought attention to the VR community. That's happened as well. I think Beat Saber was a best-selling one. I think Blood and Truth also topped the PS4 charts, didn't it? I believe as a seller.
Yeah, Beat Saber's literally been #1 since it came out last year, but or last month, Blood and Truth finally supplanted it.
That's crazy. I mean, that's fantastic. Yeah, as VR legs, I believe the sickness was attached to the demo, not the game. There was a Drive Club demo.
Oh yeah, that made me so ill.
Yeah, see, that's I personally, I only ever experienced like moments of nausea, very slowly. And funny enough, not I don't know if it's nausea or not. I'm not sure because I used to be travel sick as a kid. But No Man's Sky, first time I took off. I swear to God, like every time I take off now, the ship goes whoop, shoots off, and I'm like, oh my God. But the first time I did it live, I sort of went up, and I was oh, and I sort of drifted forward, and I thought, oh, I feel that. Do you know what I mean? And then it was fine. So
But
No.
like Ultra Wings is the other one that obviously, in terms of motion, the feeling of flight in Ultra Wings
that's great.
is just so good.
That is. What's the one on Nintendo that just reminds you of that? When Ultra Wings came out, Pilot Wings. That's what that game kind of reminded me of, was Pilot Wings.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know, for me, I think one of the most unreal experiences was Ace Combat 7, taking off from the deck of the carrier. When
Yeah.
you see that first plane take off first and the thunder you hear from the jet engine, and
Oh.
then when you take off yourself, it's almost like you can feel the G forces from that catapult, shooting you off the deck of that carrier. And then once you get up in the air, it's almost like complete silence. And then you look out that window and just see that little island below you just get smaller. And then I have the Hodis flight stick, so it made it all the more immersive. And that's just another experience that I feel like a lot of people definitely have to try in VR.
It's the bittersweetness of that because AC7 is absolutely amazing in VR. I mean, it's drop dead gorgeous. It's amazing. It does what it does extraordinarily well. There's just not enough of it.
Oh man.
Going back to Drive Club VR, because my Let's Play of the demo is up. Because what had happened is I'd got messages through, because literally I played it on the first night of having PlayStation VR, and I played a few, and I took a little break. Took a break of about half hour, and in that half hour, I had a load of people contact me on the YouTube chat saying, I'm hearing reports that the Drive Club VR demo is making people really physically ill. I'm like, well, that can't be the case. I mean, it's Sony. They'd have done their due diligence and stuff. And I got so many messages in the end. I was like, all right, fine. I'll just I'll play it. I'll put it on because obviously it was on the demo disc. So I started it up, and it's 3 laps.
Yeah.
First lap, I'm kind of okay, right up until the point I'm about to cross the line. As soon as I get past the line, and you can literally hear me on the Let's Play because I'm talking all the way through it. As I'm going through the second lap, I'm going, I really don't feel very well. By the time I got to the end of the third lap, I'm like, I'm going to be so sick in a second. I can't, because it literally knocked me for 6.
Yeah.
That's how bad that drive was. So if anyone actually wants to hear it, go on my channel, do Drive Club demo. It's on my channel. I've left it up, and you can laugh your ass off of a man who really should have stopped playing it and didn't.
I wonder if that would still be the case now, because obviously they changed something. I wonder what they changed. Do you think it was frames? Do you think it was field of view? I mean, what was the difference?
Well, I had people who said that they got ill on the demo, but on the actual game they were fine.
That's exactly my point. What is the difference?
You have a particular thing there where the scale in a game, and I've seen it with a couple of games that have been in alpha. There's one particular game, I'm not going to say what it is because it's in early release, and they still haven't sorted out from what I've said completely, and the scale is wrong. So if you get the scale wrong, it actually messes with your perception. So when you move your head, you get like this odd. It's like the warp part of the side of here. The scale kind of throws it off there. Your depth perception will be slightly off, and if it's slightly off that certain amount, it triggers you more. I find that more people are triggered by that than anything else, and it's a common thing in car racing games as well. Which some of the car races on the PC, there are scale adjustment settings that you can change to make sure that you've got the scale appearing correct for your eyes. It's also to do with like the IDP adjustment as well. So
Yeah.
when it falls outside of certain IPD ranges and things like that, that has a bigger effect. The other thing that we do see, of course, from VR is unfortunately people who aren't ready yet going in too deep and just going, well, I got ill, can't take it.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, you went too deep, too fast, and then there are some things that are just those individual quirks that show up. I still have a problem with certain rotation speeds are the only certain thing that can actually sometimes set me off. When a rotation speed is too slow, that's the only thing that can actually trigger any sort of motion sicknesses in me is a rotation speed that is just a little bit too slow.
And it's amazing you should say that. When I interviewed Adrian Lacey from Ubisoft talking about Space Junkies, they had like NASA test pilots as part of their VR testing program, and they said they found actually going faster is better for VR sickness. Going slower can make you feel worse. So yeah, that was a bit of an eye opener for me personally. I was quite interested in how that was. Yeah, Simon, I think all of us have played Spider-Man, haven't we? Surely.
Yes, I have.
Absolutely fantastic. I personally absolutely loved that.
Love it.
Yeah. Ace Combat VR. Mrs. GT has actually played that on this channel, and I couldn't actually upload half of it because she was screaming and she's scared of going underwater. And when it was all fine, and she pulled up on the Harrier, and then it was like takeoff over the sea. So that is, I think, the takeoff is genuine as I remember. And then when she took off, I sort of then cut it and edit it because she soon crashed and thought she was going to go underwater when she crashed. That was what she was scared of, but she was fine. And we made the video and it was a good crack. Decepticon, how you doing, man? You all right? That's how Valkyrie, that was how he felt when he first took off, because that game just throws you, catapults you almost, isn't it? It's like a magnetic catapult takeoff. That game is that is a good game. That is a good game.
Beautiful. I mean, my channel is got huge amounts of content from me, Valkyrie, because that's one of the games that kind of sold me in there. Because I love all the space stuff from a kid. One of my big dreams has always been space flight, adventure, all of that type of stuff. So, Eve Valkyrie, No Man's Sky, Ace Combat 7, all of this type of stuff is the things that really make VR for me.
Yeah.
And, VR is the stuff of dreams. It lets you do things that you wouldn't. The motion sickness, this, that, the other, what you may combat there.
Yeah.
But the other side we've pulled on motion sickness on this is, okay, people have issues with VR and say motion sickness. There are people that I've heard stories of people that have motion sickness in real life, have gone through the VR experience of taking it easy, going slowly, working on it, and then as a result, suddenly found they're no longer getting motion sickness in real life, because there used to be motion sickness just from being a passenger in a car.
That's awesome.
So
I used to be that when I was a kid.
So they've actually gone through that with VR, of the motion sickness in VR, got over that, and now no longer have a problem with motion sickness in real life.
I found it really interesting what you said about what you do with first experiences. So, um, two things have happened to me. I won't go into the scare one first, but the sickness one was what's the roller coaster one? Roller Coaster Legends, isn't it? We've got on PS or whatever. And I put a guy in it who said he wanted to try it, and I was like, "Look, man, it's a roller coaster." He went, "Yeah, I'll do it." He actually went white. Like I'm not joking. He come out of that. I don't think he's been back in it since. That, as you're saying, you're right. So normally, what I tend to do, and I thought I only had PSVR at the time, is what you want to do is give someone an experience where they are the camera, they are the controller, and you can freely walk around. So the best one I found on PSVR was Ocean Descent, where they could put the headset on and freely walk around that cage. And just get to grips with it, looking. I'd say to them, look up, and they're like, oh my god, and look down, oh man, what I mean? And and I wouldn't necessarily send them to the shark bit first of all. I would just.
I did.
I know, but it depended if I liked them enough. But most of the time, they'd be like, look at that manta ray, and that manta ray always reminded me of the PS1 demo disc you used to get. I think it was the Tyrannosaurus. And the manta ray and stuff like those graphical tech demos, I guess they used to put on the PlayStation 1. So yeah, it is. You have got a bit of responsibility, I guess, introducing someone to virtual reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. I was on a date a couple of years ago.
Where's this going?
And I brought her back, and I said, I want you to try something. I brought her back. I put the headset on there, and I put on Ocean Depth for her.
Right.
She said, what am I supposed to do? I said, nothing. Just sit back and enjoy the ride. When that shark came and ripped that door off, she jumped back on the couch and almost fell and hit her head on the wall.
Wow.
So I had to grab her by the wrist so she wouldn't fall off the couch. But it was hilarious.
I don't know. Go on, Tom.
That also when even my son was scared of it.
Yeah.
When it first came out. Like me, I actually had to go through it 2 or 3 times before I wasn't scared anymore.
I had a fantastic one with what was the Resident Evil demo, the very first one?
Kitchen.
So Miss GT's sister watches horror films. She watches horror films all the time, and I said to her this is scary. She was don't worry about that. Honestly, dude, she was overly terrified and was like, I cannot believe how scary that was. And she's never used it again either. It was too much.
Well, I had I've still got him subscribed to my channel, and he's literally bound to a wheelchair. And the only thing he plays is VR games.
Yeah.
And he just says that whenever he's playing VR games, especially games where he's moving around and stuff and he's walking around, it makes him forget that he's in a wheelchair.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's things like that where people do have physical issues where VR just gives them a completely different thing. You might have a guy who's missing a leg or whatever. Like I say, he was just confined to a wheelchair. His upper body, as he told me, was absolutely fine. But he said the games that he loves playing, he actually finished Resident Evil 7 before I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, weren't you terrified? And he goes, yeah, but it's just so wonderful to be able to walk around. And there was other games that, where he's just walking around and he goes, you know what, while I'm playing it, I forget that I'm in a wheelchair.
Bloody hell.
And it was just a wonderful conversations that I've had with that guy. So
that's awesome.
It's really cool. I say it's nice to see that VR can just do so much good for people, because it does actually help them get over certain phobias and things like that as well. So
going slightly back onto the motion, we just had somebody saying, the run is supposed to help with motion sickness a bit. There's a lot of other things that help with motion sickness. But this week, I had someone who's new to VR come into the channel when I was doing No Man's Sky, and they were literally waiting for their headset to arrive, and No Man's Sky was going to be their first VR experience.
Oh, man.
So I did have to say to them, look, here's just a bit of advice. Just don't jump straight into it. Look, they came back and said, "Well, I jumped straight in. And I got really sick. I had a bad headache." And we're sort of like,
Oh.
"Look, here's the things. Do something which does not have high movement." Before, I know it's been said, and some people debate it. Ginger works wonders. A fan that is pointing towards you helps greatly. And just take it easy on, like you said, experiences where you are the camera, where it's your movement
Yeah.
and things like that. The other one to avoid is coffee. Don't drink a ton of coffee before your first VR experience. Don't drink a ton of sugar before your first VR experience either. Water, hydration. These are all good.
You can buy
Uh,
travel sickness bands as well. Apparently they work. You get off on Amazon and stuff. I recommend them all the time, and everyone I've recommended them to hasn't come back to me and said they didn't work. I've had a couple of say they're brilliant, so I'm assuming it's good advice. They're quite cheap, and yeah, you just put them on your wrist while you're playing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually
Yes.
taking my Oculus Quest into work tomorrow because I've had a couple of people say, "Oh, we really want to try VR," so I'm taking my Oculus Quest into work tomorrow,
cool.
and I'm going to give them super hot because
yeah, no, that's
Oh.
perfect.
that's not going to be a major
I think
sickness issue inducing game. Also, one of them wants, even though I don't own Beat Saber, obviously I've got the demo for Beat Saber on it. So one of the guys is like, I really want to try this Beat Saber thing that I keep hearing about. It's like, well, I ain't got the game, but I've got the demo, so you'll be able to try it. So like I say, it's going to be interesting to see what their thoughts on it are.
And the ginger ale definitely works because when I talked about how I was getting motion sickness in the beginning, that's what got me through until I got my VR legs under me, was because I always kept ginger ale in the fridge. It definitely works, at least for me.
yeah, sailors used to use ginger all the time to actually acclimatize themselves on the motion on the ship to get over motion sickness on ships. That's why a lot of people go to the ginger side of things. But it was good to hear the person that came into my stream and said you was 100% right on the fan and stuff like that, and they got that and they said, I'm feeling great with the fan. I've moving on through No Man's Sky already. I'm like, great, yeah. Before they played 10 minutes and got a headache, they got a fan in there. They've got water. They got a bit of ginger. Boom, boom. That was good. So put those ones out there. So it's nice. It's just a very wide range of things for different people, really, isn't it? But I think Nat is 100% on with for the Quest. Super Hot, I think, is an absolute ideal introduction for anybody with VR.
I was trying to think of the one that I remember on PSVR as well, which was another good one to show people, was Batman. Because that's another one where you teleport or you move around.
There's one problem with the Batman.
Apart from when you descend into the cave.
Yeah, as soon as you descend into the cave, I've seen someone go pure white straight away.
Yeah, I remember standing dead still. I remember going through like the technical bit, and then that fantastic music as you see all the cave. I still find it amazing now. And I remember looking down. I remember thinking, shit, I'm going to stand dead still until we hit the ground, because it's weird. You sort of know that stuff, and you know it's not real, but you know your eyes are telling you different, and sometimes even your body, you can sort of feel different things. And I can't wait to see where haptics takes all this in the future. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I hope we get a sequel to that Batman.
Yeah, they done it so well. When Croc comes out of the water, dude. And the ending as well. Like, guys, if anyone's not played Batman, because I know it's on PC as well, isn't it? On Oculus and stuff. Is it Steam or Oculus? Is it on both? Does anyone know?
I'm not sure. I
I'm
know
not
it is.
sure. It's definitely on Steam.
I know Oculus. So if it's definitely on Steam, then it's on both.
You've got to check it out. It's short, don't get me wrong, but if you're a Batman fan, I'd highly recommend it personally.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, cool. Right, guys, we are going to have to wrap this up, unfortunately, because it does feel like we could just keep talking and talking, as we often do on this show. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today. I know me and the guys. We really appreciate it. Be sure to check out Salsa for Salsa Catch Up VR if you get a chance. Be sure to check out Nat for 7 Degrees of Gaming and your man Lincoln, Lincoln Clay from 670. Yeah, check him out as well. I will put links to their channels in the chat. If not, guys, if you could post your own links in the chat, if anyone's up for that, you can do that, because I'm sure you're all mods and stuff. I'm not sure.
I'm not a mod on this channel yet, so I wouldn't do that yet.
I will sort that out as soon as possible. But thank you, as I said, thank you everyone. Thank you for the donations as well. Really appreciate that. Thank you for the likes, especially because that lets people know that this is a good program and it's worth dropping in and saying hello. So yeah, thank you very much, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Cheers. Have a good week.
Yep. See you, everybody. Have a good one.